eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody calm down!
Everyone just relax. I think it's happening. Something's happening, that's for sure. What the hell is going on, everyone? I hope you are all doing well. I hope you're all keeping it all together right now, because it's crazy times. This is basically our Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl for UFO nerds and digital autists around the world right now. And that's what today's show is going to be about. Obviously, we all know what has happened. President Trump has said that he is putting out the orders to release everything that is known that can be released on UFO/UAP files and relative technology. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of dig into it, what we know, and talk about what we kind of think is coming. And I'm going to actually throw up a poll soon to see how you guys are feeling about it. But first, I want to show you something that I think is important. And I also want to talk about, like, you know, is this going to be the disclosure that we all want? Is it going to be disclosure that we're all happy with? Because I think there's like two different things, right? So we've got that. We're going to be trawling through X as well to kind of see what people are talking about, see what people are saying, people from interesting positions as well, which I think is always a good thing to look at. But the big question in all of this, I think, is it a distraction from the Epstein files? And that's obviously one thing that a lot of people are talking about right now, which is totally understandable. But I was going to say I'm usually a pessimist, but I don't think that. I'm actually usually a realist, but sometimes being a realist in this world can be quite pessimistic. But I actually don't think that this is a distraction for the Epstein files. I actually think this is I think that they're one and the same. I actually think the Epstein files have been a precursor in this larger disclosure plan, because, like I've said many times on this stream, I think this is all connected. I think there are connections between Jeffrey Epstein and his deep ties to high-level scientists and physicists, and his deep interest in genetics and cloning, and his abuse survivors claiming they woke up on Zorro Ranch with bright lights on them and people standing over them, almost exactly how people explain waking up in a UFO encounter, right? And then you've got the deep, decades-long research of MK Ultra and the manipulation of human perception, okay? So I think these things are all connected. Now, I don't have all the answers, unfortunately, sorry, but that's what we're going to talk about today. So before I put up the poll on what you guys think, this is what I want to show you. And this is, I was already thinking this, by the way, but when I saw this, it confirmed it. It basically confirmed it to me that this is all a long planned rollout that's been in the works for a long time. And I do think the Epstein files was just one stage in that. And what we're going to get next is the next one. So we're going to jump over here, and you guys might remember this tweet, okay? Instagram post, actually. This is Dave Navarro, okay? He plays in the band Jane's Addiction. And this was posted around the time that George Knapp released his Investigation Alien documentary, which came out on Netflix in November 2024, okay? This was posted November 2024. If we look at the caption here, this is what it says. This is what it said when it was originally posted. Thanks to my pals, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, for coming out to see us this evening. We talked about some things tonight that I'd love to share, but I'm afraid it's still classified. All I can say is you may not want to make any plans for March 3rd, 2026. Well, you won't actually have a choice. And then he put a UFO emoji after it. Okay. This was in November 2024. And he is saying, you're not going to have a choice. Don't make any plans for the 3rd of March, 2026. Now, it is currently the 21st of February, 2026. And I mean, to say the last couple of weeks have been an overload of like revelations, unveiling, reveals would be an understatement. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this is not the only version of this post. Okay. After that, it got changed to this. Now, what I'll do is I'll just put this one over here so we can still see it. This, I guess, naturally, when things like that get posted in the UFO world, us UFO nerds freak out. We start screeching. We start running around like the clip from The Office that we just saw. And so Dave updated his caption to say, "Update to my dear UFO community. I'm just fucking around. We are all friends and discussed nothing. Haha, sorry, but not sorry." Now, I don't have my sus dog emoji on this screen, but I don't know about that, Dave. I don't know about that, Dave. I think maybe you did talk about something, and I think maybe you did know something. We can all say it's a joke. We can all say, just it's a prank, bro. It's just a prank. It's just a prank. But here we are. Okay, here we are on February 21st, and the world is burning down, which sounds terrible, but, I think it's probably a good thing. But wait, there's more. There's more. Because not only did this tweet get edited once, it got edited twice. And because if you'll notice here, in these first two versions, he's still got this date here of March 3rd, 2026. Well, I went to his Instagram page just before the live stream started, and this is what it says now. Congratulations to my pal George Knapp on his new Netflix series, Investigation Alien. Okay, so this is a complete change, by the way, complete change from the previous two. Amazing information in there for everyone. Great docuseries if you are deep into ufology or just want to learn. That's it. No more date. No more date. Now, if we're all just kidding, if we're all just playing around and it's just a couple of boys talking shit and it doesn't mean anything, why are you changing it, bro? You hiding something? You know something that we don't know, Dave Navarro? Hanging around with some interesting people, Dave Navarro. Do you know something that we don't know, Dave Navarro? I think you might.
Sure, everyone. What's the procedure? Stay calm! Wait. Everybody calm down!
I didn't actually mean for that to play again, but you know what? It probably works. And I think you do know something, Dave Navarro. I can't prove that, of course, and I'm not like accusing him of being a gatekeeper by any means. But I think just like logically, given where we are, what's happened, the multiple redactions and edits to the post, clearly people have known about what is happening today for a long, long time. Obviously. Okay, obviously. And when I say obviously, again, that doesn't mean it's 100% true, but like the evidence creates an obvious answer that we can draw, right? Just logically, it's an obvious answer that we can draw by just applying logic to what we can see. So there we go. I think this is a long planned rollout of information, and I think it begins with unlearning, as Carl Nell told us. Carl Nell said this, and I really like Carl Nell. And sometimes you listen to people say lots of things, and every now and then, little fragments just kind of like happen to stick with you. They stick with you for some reason, right? And one of those things that Carl Nell said that stuck with me is our problem is not learning, it is first having to unlearn. And I think unlearning is a far harder process than disclosure. And maybe that's why disclosure has been so difficult, because you can't just tell people what's going on, because you first have to like get them to realize and come to terms with the fact that what they think that they already know is wrong. It's a lie. Like Matthew Brown has said, your reality is a lie, and many others have said. We live in a form of a matrix that has been generated through programming, and we have kind of like built our own mental, I'll say mental prison, only because it's self-imposed and we keep ourselves in it. And I guess this process is about breaking down those prison walls so we can learn a greater truth, a greater understanding of a wider reality. And so I think that's what the Epstein files are. That is the unlearning, because a whole load of people, admittedly, a lot of people already knew it, or they had a very strong suspicion, but a whole lot of people already are going through a process of like, wow, you mean my favorite Hollywood actor isn't a good person? My favorite Hollywood actor actually drinks blood, and that they use children's blood as a currency in the world of the elite? Yes, that is true. And welcome to your unlearning. It's gonna hurt. Hold on tight. It won't be forever. We'll get there. So I think, well, I'll catch up on some super chats, and then I want to show you guys just kind of the sequence of events that led us up to today, and then we'll get into like the meat of the show. Gnosis Zilla, you little freak, sir. Enjoy that golden trim on your badge. Thank you very much. Richo says, let's go with the $8. Thank you, Richo. The Wrath of Carnarvon with 7 months says, I'm just happy to be here. I love y'all. I love you too, Wrath, and I'm happy that you're here as well. Corrupt NPC gifted a membership. Corrupt, my boy, thank you very much. Kelsey gifted a membership too. Legends, guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. Richo says, I bet Spielberg is spewing he got the date wrong. Again, just another part, right? And, you know, it's interesting that is scheduled for the middle of the year. So we got about another 4 months from now. It's like, it's almost like by that point, I feel like on the trajectory that we're on, by that point, you know, if people aren't willing to sort of buy what's put in front of them already, and that they're still like, no, I don't believe in any of that stuff, the only people left over are still going to be the people that sort of believe in like Hollywood and like they believe in that kind of shit. So then maybe once a movie gets put in front of their face, they'll be like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand. Or maybe he did get the date wrong. I don't know. Sweets says, hugs all round weirdos. I'm sorry, I don't know what that thing is at the start. But thank you very much, Sweets. I appreciate you. Nurse L says, what is up, my fine weirdo fam? Happy strange disclosure time, everyone. Thank you very much, L. Stevie says, been waiting all day for Polarity tonight, 7 p.m. in Colorado. Night shift was amazing today, and they said they want Josh on their show but can't get in touch with him. That is a lie. That is a fallacy. That is blasphemous, because I have emailed Clint months ago, and I said I would come on the show. So hit me back. You know my email. Or just DM me on literally any platform. I'm here for it. Cruz Thompson says, is Jeff connected to the M12 files? I mean, at this point, wouldn't surprise me. I saw something today that said there was like a point in time where Jeffrey Epstein was either offered or tried to buy the Pentagon. I mean, I'm just repeating headlines here, so don't take that with too much weight. But crazy. Don't know if it's true. But you could argue that even if Jeffrey didn't buy the Pentagon, Israel did eventually. They got their hands on it eventually somehow. Abraxas, the theologian, says, Brother Josh, greetings from Austin, Texas. This stream is giving me a blue vein. This stream is giving me a blue vein throbber, and I like it. I like it too, so well done. Sticks and Stones for 5 months says, what is so special about 2026 that this was planned so far ahead and foreshadowed? Something's brewing. Exactly. You've also got the Bledsoe family, which we're going to look at a little bit today. This is what I'm saying. And, you know, they're connected into NASA, the CIA, the government. This is a slow rollout plan. And I also said, and, you know, not just me, I can't take full credit for this, but I felt it from very early on, that the TTSA movement felt like a 10-year rollout plan. It always kind of felt like a 10-year rollout plan, because you began to realize that over the years, the trajectory of like exponential information release was clear that it was like culminating to a boiling point. And as the years went on, that became more and more obvious, because like the first couple of years of TTSA was very slow, right? It was kind of like there was a couple of movies and there was like anomalous threats and we don't know what they are. And remember, like this, and also why it was obvious is because Lou Elizondo, you know, think about him what you want. The whole idea at the beginning of TTSA was that he left the Pentagon, he left the government, he was no longer associated with them, but he worked in these programs and he knew some things. And he was here at the beginning of TTSA to kind of bring that to the public. Well, you know, over those few years, he started saying more and more things. And, you know, he wasn't working with the government anymore. He left the government. So the knowledge that he knew about what the government knew and was doing logically hadn't changed, right? Because he didn't work for them anymore. He stopped doing that. But then over the 10 years of TTSA, or, you know, until that kind of fizzled out, he began saying more and more deeper things. And that kept going every year up until he started letting slip that like you should, in 2022, he said like go and get a hobby for 5 years and come back. And then that kind of blew open this 2026, 2027 idea. And then here we are. Here we are. So I think it's clear that this is a coordinated rollout plan, 100%. But then it obviously leaves you open to like, is it a rollout that's in our best interest or not? Is it controlled? Are we going to be satisfied with it? I don't know. That's the kind of thing I guess we'll get into in this show. True J79, thank you very much for the gifted membership, sir. And the Rambro has gifted 5. Guys, let's get some love in the chat for all of these legends. Thank you, Rambro. And for everyone supporting the show, I appreciate you guys being here. Richo put in $3 and said blue vein thrombosis. I think a lot of UFO nerds right now are experiencing blue vein thrombosis. Absolutely. Lost Cause, we are celebrating 5 months, my man. Thank you for the 5 months of support, brother. Okay, let's talk about how we got here. This is where well, obviously a lot led up to this, but over the last few days, this is the chain of events. It started. Okay, anyway, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Now, I don't want to say he's a nobody random, because I could just be an ignorant Australian, which I might be, probably am. But does anyone know who this guy is and how the hell? Someone said Obama. Yeah, I did. I do know who Obama is. I did figure that one out. I was curious who this guy that we can see on screen is, because like, you know, getting a president on your show, I feel like is a big deal. It's probably a big deal if you're a news, if you're an actual like mainstream outlet, to have a president on for like an interview. I feel like that's a big deal, even an ex-president. To have him on a podcast, I feel like that's an even bigger deal. Like you're obviously connected in some way. You must be. I mean, I'm not having Obama on my show. You know what I mean? Let's look at it. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's a bit weird, but let's listen.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens? Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51.
The fact that he, with this question, said they're not being kept in Area 51, which was not asked, by the way. No one asked where they're kept. No one asked about secret bases. It reminds me of the Wikipedia stickers that appear underneath like 90% of my videos. It's kind of like, you know, you have one slight mention of something that might be sensitive and real, and you get this like Wikipedia article that is like, hey, don't worry about doing any critical thinking. Don't worry about using your brain. this is a conspiracy theory. Don't worry about it. We're Wikipedia. We are the arbiter of truth, and we can do your thinking for you. So don't worry about that. That's what that whole Area 51 part felt like to me. And a lot of people say, you know, we've known about Area 51 for a long time. They probably would have moved their ops away from there. And like, a part of me does agree with that. But then a part of me is like, no, they probably think that you think that. So they're hiding it in plain sight. And it is at Area 51. I don't know. I mean, it's, you know what? It's probably not concentrated to one place. There's probably shit going on all over everywhere that people just have no idea about, because your media, your news, and your information is carefully curated, right? So this is this was like the match, okay? This is what kind of started it off. And then we had this. So then President Trump was asked about this, that Obama was basically admitting that aliens are real, which he had done before, kind of, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this is what happened next.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
He gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He genuinely actually seems a little bit like pissed off that like he stole the thunder. He stole the thunder, and he's a bit annoyed about that. But also at the same time admitting that like that's classified information.
You know?
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake.
He made a big mistake. This guy is so annoyed that Obama stole the thunder.
He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, the president can declassify anything that he wants to.
Well,
So if
maybe
you
I'll
want
get
to
him
make
out
an
of trouble.
announcement,
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
we know illegal aliens are real.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals.
Barack Obama.
So it's interesting that he said, maybe I'll get him out of trouble by declassifying it. Like it's, you know, like it's hard to imagine. By the way, this clip was within like 24 hours of the one that we just looked at. Okay. So it's hard to imagine that Obama said this thing about like aliens are real. Trump goes, oh, he shouldn't have said that. Maybe I'll declassify it. And then like within 12 hours of this clip happening, we have this tweet from the White House basically saying, due to overwhelming interest, we'll release the UFO files. And why this feels weird to me is because we've had over the last couple of years, now admittedly, Trump was only in presidency for one of them, but we've had 3 UAP hearings. 3 UAP hearings with 4 people in each one, or 3 to 4 people in each one, testifying under oath, saying, not just going, well, aliens are real, but they're not at Area 51. We've had people testifying under oath, giving you names, giving you locations in skiffs, giving you testimony of real life biologics being recovered from crash retrievals. We have had things that are like that have far more substance to it. And it was fucking crickets. It was crickets after these hearings. Some of it was like barely even reported on in the news. In fact, I feel like this Age of Disclosure documentary, which was also part of this rollout plan, obviously, the Age of Disclosure documentary got more mainstream news coverage than the UAP hearings did, okay? And I remember saying, I wouldn't be able to, maybe someone could find it. If you go back early into 2025, in my videos, where about maybe mid-2025, because the Age of Disclosure got premiered for the first time at South by Southwest last year, which was in like March. And then, which obviously meant the movie was complete. It was finished. And then it was getting into June, July, August, and the movie still was just in the void. No one knew anything. And I said in a video that this is obviously being withheld to be used in like a significant way. Like they're waiting for something to happen to release it, or they waiting to release it as part of a chain of events that lead up to something. And if you look at this chain of events, the age of disclosure, ended up coming out in November, I think. And then, here we are now, a couple of months later. You've had the Epstein files, and now we've got disclosure. Like, I think the chain of events is clear to see, and let's not forget the Dave Navarro tweet, the Dave Navarro Instagram post, okay? I think the chain of events is obvious and planned. And this is why I don't think it's a distraction. I think it's a slow rollout, and Epstein is part of this, and we are going to get into that more. So anyway, this is what the actual tweet said. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and the other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. So, this is where I think people are going to get mad, depending on what we get. Because he says, any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. Now, that includes technology. That includes how they work, energy. If they come out, now I'm not saying they're going to just, next week be like, all right, here's free energy, everyone. But if there's not at least eventually some kind of direction towards that, people are going to be mad, because we all know that is a massive part of it. And I think it will. I think that this is potentially what it's about, because they're building these AI data centers that are basically dominating the power grid and sucking up so much power and electricity that it's like unsustainable using the energy systems that we currently have. And it feels like that this is the demolition of the old world of oil and gas, and bringing in the nuclear age or free energy. Maybe they're one and the same, possibly. I don't know. I'm not smart enough. But I think there's connections there. And it feels like that hopefully we do get real, genuine information about the true nature of reality and what is around us and what is flowing through us. I hope that is a big part of it. But I really do think as well that this is about the final breakaway from oil and gas and sort of old energy systems, and bringing in the new, because the new world that is going to be AI based, which requires data centers that are already, like I said, dominating the power grids, are going to require a new energy source to be sustainable on a large scale. And I don't think that they could do that without revealing some of it. And it feels like that I don't want to say that's all this is about, because I really do want to hope that this is actually an age of transparency and truth, and we are moving into a new age of enlightenment and a new knowledge. But it also does seem that, that is a big part of it as well. And what I find interesting, and this may not be connected, this could be just schizophrenic dot connecting, chiming in here. But I think this is really interesting as well. So we all probably remember when Obama was on Jimmy Kimmel. This was 10 years ago, okay? This was actually, it should say here. This was in March 2015. And maybe someone can correct me here in the chat if I'm wrong. But Trump got elected at the end of 2015. Is that correct? And then he's like inaugurated early 2016. I think that's correct. It makes me wonder if this is almost like the second version of an attempted rollout, because we know from the WikiLeaks emails that there was kind of this planned disclosure for Hillary Clinton to be the disclosure president. Before Trump got elected, there was these emails going around about plans for disclosure with the Clinton administration. And then Hillary Clinton was running against Trump. And then it was like this big shock that Trump actually got in. And then heaps of people have said from like military backgrounds that there was this kind of plan for disclosure. And obviously that's what Tom DeLonge was involved in. And he was in those emails talking to the Podesta group and all of this kind of shit about disclosure. So it's weird that we have Obama on a talk show here, sort of prior to this next president coming in, just lightly casually dropping this idea of aliens. So let's just watch this. It starts around here.
One and UFOs, and I go through everything to find out what happened. Right. Did you do that? That's why you will not be president. Because that's the first thing that you would do. The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets.
So he's saying the aliens won't happen. You'll reveal all their secrets. And, he doesn't explicitly say they're real, but I think many of us, when we watched this the first time, sorry, the volume was low. It's up now. We'll listen. I'll take it back a bit. So many of us, when we watched this the first time, it felt like, and I don't know if there's a word for this. I'm sure there is. Or if there's not, we all know it. That sometimes people can tell the truth, but they do it as a joke. And it's like such an easy way to tell a joke because you can kind of laugh and go along with it. But you can say it so clearly because you know it's real. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I feel like people understand what I'm talking about. You can sometimes disguise the truth as a joke and you can just laugh it out. But in your head, you're like, yeah, I'm literally telling you the truth, but you can't tell because I'm laughing. And I'm probably laughing because you think I'm joking, but actually, fuck all. And that's hilarious. Anyway, I'll take this back a bit.
The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us. Now, there are
the laugh track. Yeah, it's true. They do.
a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. You can't reveal anything. So I think a lot of us felt like when this happened that there was something in that, because I don't know. I guess it's just a feeling. We can't prove it. It's just a feeling. What do you guys agree with me on that? That like sometimes people kind of tell jokes but it's truth, and it's just able to be weaved in so easily because of that. 1998 kid says Revelations 2:9 reads, "I know your tribulation and poverty, but you are rich, and the blasphemy by those who call themselves Jews are really not, but they are a synagogue of Satan." I have heard about that. There are a few passages in the Bible that talk about the synagogue of Satan, which is really interesting, given where we are today and everything that we've learned in these Epstein files. Which is obviously connected to Russia. Richo says sensational stuff that the public can handle will come before midterms. Rubio and Vance will fight for succession. Interesting. I have seen a lot of people talk about a lot of this stuff in relation to the midterms. Toxic Fart says, I don't care what the presidents say. I only care what Polarity Josh says. My man, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yvonne Pandora says, Josh, the team at Night Shift want you on the show. Yes, someone did say that earlier. I'm here. It's not hard to contact me, so let's do it. Zach Beach says, I'm all for it, but timing seems a little smelly. I just want the truth. I feel you, bro. And I think it's very easy to say that this all feels like a distraction. But I think if you zoom out, I think it's part of one bigger revelation. And I've always kind of said that about these conspiracies, is that like when you look at each one just individually, it can seem so wild and crazy and it's hard to believe. But the more you zoom out and you just kind of look at lots of things objectively and think about how or why they might connect, they actually start to make more sense. or you have schizophrenia. And Zach Beach gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, bro. I appreciate the support. The Wrath of Khan even says, what if the Epstein files was an appetizer to see if we could handle the reality-shattering truth that comes with disclosure? What if this is phase 5 and it all started in 2017? Well, you know, that's really interesting because I've been wanting to do another video, but I find it so hard to organize my thoughts, and that's why I like to live stream, because I can just kind of let it flow, and it's much easier than trying to write it all out and edit and all that annoying shit. I can just do it on the fly, and that just works better for me. But I've been thinking a lot about my conversation with Jason Somoza, which, if you haven't watched it, really good conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Excellent person to listen to. And I want to have him back on the show soon. But he spoke a lot about the rollout and the different phases. And that one of the big things throughout the last 10 years that people have kind of avoided talking about, or certain people have been told that you can't go there, is the idea of genetics. It's the idea of genetics. And what the implications could be. This is more Jason theorizing here, but I think he's on the money. What the implications could be if we actually realize that some people around us have genetics that are far more in the realm of non-human. And when I say far more in the realm, I mean, you know, I'm not saying explicitly that they are just straight up aliens, but the idea of like interbreeding in the Book of Enoch, right? The idea of interbreeding is a real thing. There are people who talk about bloodlines and they keep it within the family to preserve their lineage. What if we actually find out that there are people on Earth, maybe the ones that rule over us, that are literally far more non-human than human? And there have been so many people, Uncle Robert Dean, who we love to watch on this channel, who we haven't watched in a while. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull up the clip while I'm talking. It's a great one. We've watched many times. Robert Dean said that for a long time that they have known about multiple species that are interacting with us, and they look just like us. And that some of them could even be in the White House, and that in the 60s, when they were sort of coming to this understanding, that really shocked them. So let's watch this. This is a fantastic clip, and this is something I wanted to include in an upcoming video. This should be the one here.
At that time, I was given a cosmic top secret clearance, which was and still is the highest level of security access that NATO has. When I was assigned to the war room, I learned that a study had been initiated in 1961, and everybody was talking about it. They were gossiping about it. And the subject was UFOs, and that intrigued me a bit. When that study was concluded in 1964 and it was published, and I was still working in the war room at that time, I had access to this document. I had a chance to read it. And having been exposed to it, I must tell you honestly that my life has never, ever quite been the same. Because I read first-hand reports, verifiable NATO military material that indicated that the UFOs were not only real, but they represented something far beyond anything I had ever imagined before. When the study was concluded in '64, they concluded that there were 4 different groups apparently coming and visiting us. Out of those 4 different groups, one group looked exactly like we do, so much so that they could sit beside you in a restaurant or in an airplane or in a theater, and you'd never know. And that particular point bothered the military guys a lot. The point being that some of these people from somewhere could be walking up and down the corridors of SHAPE headquarters, or they could be walking up and down the corridors of the Pentagon. One day at lunch, a lieutenant colonel made the remark, he says, Jesus, do you realize they could even be in the White House? And there was a little forced laughter at that point, I remember, because a lot of us over the years have had some misgivings about the occupants of the White House.
Still
but the
do.
point I'm making is that the idea that aliens could be here in our midst bothered the military, because if you're not paranoid when you go into the service, you're certainly trained very quickly to be so. It's the nature of the military mind, I think, to be paranoid. But that was only part of the story. The shape conclusions in '64 were that there were 4 groups that we knew of. They were apparently interplanetary. Some very likely were interstellar. They even concluded that some of them could be intergalactic. When I retired in 1976, many of our military people knew at that point that we were not simply dealing with visitations from people from other planets or star systems. They had concluded by '76 that some of these visitors very well might be multidimensional in their source. The evidence that we had collected and the evidence that they had repeatedly demonstrated to us, and that's no accident. It became very clear after a time that there was a program or a process of some kind underway, that they had demonstrated over and over and over again that they apparently were able to manipulate matter and time. Now, this really shook up our scientists. There are a lot of new young scientists in particle physics today who talk about multiple dimensions. There's a brilliant young professor in New York by the name of Michio Kaku, who has written a brilliant book called Hyperspace, where they talk about 10 separate dimensions. I'm not enough of a physicist to try to explain to you what a dimension is, but the idea that there could be intelligences from somewhere else, from other dimensions, coming and going into our reality. It's been quite a shakeup in traditional science. I guess I speak out openly and bluntly about this because I feel so strongly about it. I violate my security oath every time I speak about it. I do it intentionally, and I do it on purpose, because I feel so strongly that the American people not only have a right to know the truth, but they have a need to know the truth. The truth, Don, apparently is simply this, that we're not alone, we've never been alone. We are apparently part of an infinite universe filled with intelligent life. And at that...
Can we get some love in the chat for Uncle Robert? What a guy. Honestly, what a guy. And, you know, when this guy speaks, again, you know, there is something that we can all feel. And I guess it's energy, to sound wooey and spiritual and whatever, I don't care. There is something you can feel when someone speaks, when they are telling the truth. And when I say the truth, what I'm saying is, what that means is their truth. Like when they are speaking honestly from their heart, what they truly believe and understand, you can just feel that. You can feel that. Unless you are just like a completely calcified pineal gland robot, you can feel that. And I think we all can, right? We all can. But we're not taught about it, so we don't really have like a tangible way to like talk about it and understand it, other than using terms like energy and stuff like that, which, you know, we are energetic beings, so, you know, ultimately that probably is what it is. But there's so many things in this 4-minute speech that I think are interesting. First of all, the fact that he talks about interdimensional, and this video is from about mid-90s, I believe, and he's talking about when he was in the military, and he left in 1976. So this stuff has been understood for a long time. And now you've got Anna Paulina Luna going on podcasts using that exact term, interdimensional. David Grush talks about interdimensional. You've got so many people sort of subtly subtly like nudging people to look into the Book of Enoch, which is about the Watchers, an intelligence that came down, mated with human beings, created a bloodline that then ruled over humanity. Then they were superior beings, right? They were superior beings. And I think what we're learning, this is just my opinion now, by the way, and I'm just going to say it because it's it's my theory and it's what I think, but I could be wrong. I think what we're learning is that this small group that interbreeds and has been preserving its bloodline does go all the way back. They do believe that they have a divine right to rule because of this reason. And these are, they likely do have genetic, sorry, excuse me, their DNA and their genetics probably are significantly different to ours. And that this is why the conversation around genetics is very taboo, because that's almost like the smoking gun, I guess, in a way. And I think that it seems like these people feed on humans. It seems like they actually feed on humans, according to the Epstein files, literally, like literally human flesh, but also in some kind of like energetic way as well. And I think that's why the Epstein files is a precursor to understand that there is an evil darkness in our world that is sort of multidimensional, spiritual. I think that's why there is like a resurgence towards Christianity. And I think that's where this is all headed. There was another point here where he said, you know, aliens could be here in our midst and, you know, they could even be in the White House. They've infiltrated the White House. They've disguised themselves. Now, if you've been watching the channel this week, Khazarian Mafia, anyone? And, you know, the Khazarian Mafia also, that this goes back to the ideas of cannibalism. It goes back to the ideas of Baal worship. It goes back to this idea of Moloch, child sacrifice, blood drinking, literal vampires. Okay, literal vampires. And what's so interesting is that when we look at fiction, when we look at fictional vampires, they're always very like astute and like wealthy and well-dressed. They're like the upper class. They're in like tuxedos and shit, and they feed on humans. Again, physically and also kind of like energetically too. And they hate the sun. They operate in darkness. They operate in the shadows. They're hidden. And and again, I used this metaphor the other day, but like, if we look at the day and night cycle of every single day, there is probably day and night cycles of lifetimes, of epochs, eras, centuries. And it feels like the sun is coming up into a new age, and vampires cannot operate in the light. And I genuinely think, this is just my theory, that this is all part of what is happening. And that is the difference between controlled and catastrophic disclosure, is like, perhaps the control is trying to get people to understand this gently because it's so confronting. Whereas catastrophic would just be like dropping it all at once and people's minds would basically just implode. So I guess this is kind of implying that like, perhaps in some sense, like people say aliens aren't demons, they're different, they're the same thing. I think there could be both and they could be connected. I don't know. I think at this point, it's so silly to trying to be say aliens are not demons. Demons are aliens or whatever. It's like, dude, no one actually knows. Okay. No one actually knows. We're all trying to figure it out. And both are really like plausible theories. And it actually seems like it's unfolding right now before our eyes. So rather than trying to like push your agenda and what you think it actually is, I think just wait, just take a deep breath, bro. Put your feet up and let it unfold. Because I think that is what's happening right now. And you know, I think it's exciting times because I think we are coming into a really exciting time. So yeah, shout out to Uncle Robert. He's no longer with us, but I really do love looking back at some of these old clips because I think a lot of these people were clued into something. So we've got tons of stuff that I want to go through here on X and talk about it, which we will get to. But again, we'll just catch up again on the super chats and then we'll get going. Mad Scientist says the original definition of apocalypse means revelation, disclosure, or unveiling, coming from the Greek apocalyptine. I'm sorry, Armin Hillman. I just butchered your sweet mother Greek. I tried though, and it means to uncover. And yes, it does. The apocalypse is not the end of the world. It is the end of an age. It is the revealing of knowledge, and we're in the apocalypse. And it doesn't mean the terrible things that you think it means. McArtistry, do you boo? This is butter for my ears, my man. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate your long-term support of the channel. BZA says, I wonder what the odds are of both having been in presence and being in the presence of these beings in everyday life. Yeah, hey, we're actually going to get to that. We're going to get to that in this show. Bleak says we need a deep dive into the Book of Enoch and the Book of Thomas. Yes, that would be a very good idea for a show. And actually, there was something I wanted to touch on. When I was saying that these people have infiltrated the White House and the Khazarian Mafia, I just wanted to add on, because yesterday in my conversation with Chuck Swindoll Jr., which was amazing, by the way, what an awesome human being, radiating so much like good energy, positivity, and love. Awesome guy. I touched on the fact how in Game of Thrones, there is like this Scarlet Woman. They literally call her the Scarlet Woman, and she is a red priestess who convinces one of the people with a claim to the throne, one of the people who's trying to vie for power over the kingdom, Stannis Baratheon, this red priestess convinces him to sacrifice his own child, to burn his own child, to gain power. And then she gives birth to this dark, smoky, ethereal entity that kills his brother, who is also vying for the throne. Okay? And as we all know, Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard in the Babylon working ritual, the point of that ritual was to summon the Scarlet Woman to wage a sort of like chaotic energy and usher in a new age on the world. Right? This is being depicted quite literally in the Game of Thrones. And when it comes to the Khazarian Mafia, someone left a really interesting comment on that conversation. And it ties into these people potentially disguising themselves and infiltrating the Vatican, in that when Arya Stark, I think she goes to the Eastern Kingdoms, I think, or Westeros, I can't remember which one it is. And she learns about the faceless god, and she becomes a girl with no name. And these people basically gain power by killing people and stealing their face. Khazarian Mafia. That's literally what they did. They would kill travelers, steal their identities. Bravos, thank you. Kill travelers, steal their identities, and use their knowledge and their goods and their wealth to build an empire. I think that's what happened to the White House. That's what happened to the White House. And not just the White House, by the way, probably many institutions like the Vatican and whatever. I don't know if any of these things were always inherently dark, by the way, but they've certainly been corrupted at some level. And I hope that we are in like an age of like pushback resistance. Okay, I hope that's what's happening. But the parallels are just crazy. Like, I love seeing the truth in fiction. It's wild. Thomas says, Josh, your ability to discern the truth comes from the honest way you live your life. Those who lie to themselves and others struggle to see bullshit. That and Colgate brain. Love Bifter. My man Bifter, thank you very much. And that's a really nice comment, dude. I heard someone talk recently about the fact that like when we live dishonestly, like when we don't speak our truth, and I don't just mean in the way that I am, I mean like when you're hanging out with friends maybe and a friend says something like, hey, we should go and do this, and it's like something you don't really want to do or you don't agree with maybe, and you don't speak up and you kind of have that uncomfortable feeling, but you just go and do it anyway. I feel like that energy, like that uncomfortable feeling, it stays in you and it fucks with you and you're no longer being like true to yourself. And you know, I think that kind of connects to what you're saying, because you start living with this like suppression feeling. And then I think that runs through many other facets of like the way you express yourself and your life. So I think that's really important. And I think like it's hard to speak up against like, you know, peer pressure and go against the crowd. And that's what we've been conditioned to do, right? Like that's why all of this shit, that's why all of this brainwashing shit is so effective, because people are afraid of ridicule. And David Icke talks about this. David Icke talks about letting go of the fear of what other people think about you is the most liberating thing you can do. And it's so true. And like, I know it's hard to do because I've experienced this myself. Obviously, I talk about wild shit on the internet now. But when you just speak your truth, first of all, you realize that like anyone who you thought might care, they don't. And then you also realize that like they don't even really matter anyway. But the feeling of actually voicing how you really feel, despite what other people might think, comes with a feeling that outweighs anything that you think you're protecting. Anything you think you're protecting. Seriously. Speak your truth, even though it feels tough and it hurts and it's like scary. But then when you just stand in what you believe, you feel 10 feet taller and you feel like impenetrable in a way. And obviously stay grounded. Don't become a fucking psycho. But like there's something to that. And, you know, that's a message I would really love to spread here. Christine, with a big $50 chat, says, off to work to steal from the rich and give to the weird. Awesome. I love that. Can this go towards memberships? My YouTube account does not offer the option. Wild times indeed. Stay weird, everyone. Really? You don't have the option to gift memberships? That's very strange. That's very strange. I'll see what I can do about that. But thank you for the beautiful gift, Christine. You are a real one. Thank you very much. Ben with 7 months says, if anyone has the time, I could really use some good healing energy tonight. So much existential dread and despair. Anything helps. Thanks, weirdos. Ben, thank you for the 7 months. And bro, I mean, I always try to bring that with my shows, even though we do get into some wild shit. But I do think throughout the show today, which we haven't even started yet, and we're an hour in, oh my God, we're going to get that. We are going to get that. Big love to you, bro. KK Loco says, well, if they ain't human, I propose we capitalize on this and give our pets an improved diet. We can call it Organic Elite. FAFO. What does that stand for? It's something or fuck off, isn't it? What's FA? I know FIFO, fit in or fuck off, but what is that? Or maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm just being ignorant. Guess what the main ingredient is. Look, just on that, it's sort of a sidebar to your comment. I just want to put this out there because fuck around and find out. There we go. Thank you. I want to ask you guys, because I've heard this enough recently to want to put this out here and see what people think. This could, and I could be wrong here. I've eaten meat all my life, always based my food around meat, and I still love a good steak. But there has been something in me, maybe it's being in Bali, closer to nature and animals and stuff like that, but there's been something in me over this last month or two where I've really started to just like gain a deeper appreciation for the fact that like animals are sentient and intelligent, which I already knew. We obviously already knew that, but just like really sort of like appreciating that and thinking about the way that they're treated and what we do to them, and that there's like a real disrespect for life there. And I was just curious, and obviously what I'm saying is I'm feeling like this nudge to go towards just like eating less meat. I wouldn't even say becoming vegetarian, because, you know, I think you can still appreciate the food you eat without being like gluttonous and over consuming. But I'm just curious because I've spoken to a lot of people recently who have said like, yeah, I've kind of been feeling that way too. And I was just curious if that's like some weird wide scale consciousness thing that's happening. I don't know. But I will say maybe it has something to do. FIFO is a DEFCON 1 banger. My man knows. I don't know if it's just like a, you know, coronal mass ejections lifting all of our consciousness collectively. I don't know. But I think one thing that's made me think about it is the fact that what we're hearing about in the Epstein files, right? That this upper elite class that might be connected to the Nephilim that interbreed and preserve their bloodline and prey upon humanity and wear red shoes because apparently that symbolizes walking all over human flesh. Who knows? Maybe we're just tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. But the fact that we are learning that these people literally treat us like cattle, they get us to work in this sort of slave economy where we're given these little money tokens that make us think that we're not actually slaves, while they literally just live in this sort of almost alternate reality above us and just manage the financial system, are feeding on humans. It's like we are literally intelligent. We are the same as what we do to like pigs and cows. The only difference is our intelligence is higher, which means we need to be managed more carefully. We need to be managed in a more cleverly designed system to stop us from revolting. So like, can you guys see what I'm getting at here? The same kind of like weird conspiracies about like reptilians and aliens and elites feeding on us that we're talking about. We are literally operating the same systems on just a lower form of intelligence that still has the same kind of sentience as us. It's still alive. It's still aware. And we are just herding them into abattoirs and just chopping them up, milking their teats until they're pussing, and then getting what we need out of them and just killing them and eating them. Now, this, like, again, I'm not saying you have to go vegetarian or vegan. I'm not. But I'm definitely gaining a deeper appreciation of like this gluttonous overconsumption and disregard for sentient life, because it almost feels hypocritical to be like, oh, it's so disgusting. Look at what these elites who claim to be above us and are doing to us. Meanwhile, we are doing the same to a lower species, and we could actually probably survive without doing it, at least to that degree. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm not here to tell everyone to go vegetarian. I literally ate meat last night, but I'm doing it less, and I have a deep appreciation for it when I do it. Okay. Super chats and get into the show. Come on, we can do this. Lene Spaces Out, celebrating 8 months, says, what a fudging time to be alive. Stay weird and wild. Thank you for the 8 months, Lene. That's big support. Appreciate you. Ghosty Girl says, thank you for your channel. It's my pleasure. I love doing this, and I love that you guys are here resonating with it. Prison Mike says, I tried to gift a membership, but YouTube says you already own this item. Anyway, thanks for the stream. Yes, big sus dog on that one. That is odd, but thank you for trying. Bleak gifted a membership. Thank you, Bleak. Richo says, F all. With no context, but thanks, Richo. The Hairy Hominid, celebrating 5 months, says, Josh, your interview with Chuck was so profound. Your questions were thoughtful, insightful, and intelligent. The Great Awakening is coming. Thank you, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Please, if you haven't watched it, go and check it out. I had a great time, and I genuinely felt like my consciousness was like elevated for the rest of the day. Like it just was so lovely and positive and engaging. And I just, you know, even through screens, you can feel people's energy, and it was just great. It was really, really good. 420 Breezy says, I work at a feed yard for cows, and I've always thought about the way we keep these animals locked up. It's just a pin with dirt, no grass, water, and 2 meals a day. Yeah, dude, it's horrible. It's horrible. And, you know, I haven't even watched any of these documentaries that people talk about that like just make them do a 180 into being vegan or vegetarian. But and I'm not avoiding them on purpose, but like I'm saying that I've come to these feelings and conclusions without even seeing what I understand to be a very horrible reality that I know is out there for people to see. Jodwa, thank you for the support, bro. And Richo says, you asked what FIFO meant. There we go. Fuck all. Thank you, bro. All right, let's do this. Thank you all for the support. We're an hour in. Let's get into some conversations that are happening on X. 1 second. Okay. So what I want to do is just kind of look at various perspectives on what we think disclosure is actually going to be. So this is a really interesting picture here of, you know, someone performing a ritual, some kind of ritual being performed, and we're seeing a little gray looking alien being, which first of all is exactly what this alternative theory is to the Varginha case, right? It's not really being talked about much on a wide stream scale, but Ronnie Vinay, massive Brazilian UFO researcher, has talked about this. He's made a documentary on this. It's in Portuguese, but it's there. Also, Nathaniel Gillis and Steve Mira has spoken to him as well. I always go to say Dave Mira, because I'm a gaming nerd that keeps thinking about Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX on the PlayStation 1. God damn it. Anyway, they're talking about the fact that this town in Brazil, Virginia, was known to have people doing like occultist rituals. And thank you. Yes, I'll do the poll. That like people in Brazil specifically have been doing like rituals and magic and all this kind of stuff for such a long time. And that they talk about like summoning these little beings with red eyes. Like there's a whole parallel story and idea to this case that is just like being completely ignored. And I'm not saying that this means, you know, what James Fox is talking about is wrong or false or a psyop. I think that this other deeper esoteric layer is almost like the prologue. You know what I mean? Like it kind of explains beforehand of what everyone saw, or maybe how they got there. I don't know. But I think it's worth considering. Anyway, this is what the post says. This idea isn't new though. Actually, okay, look, let's look at the first post. This is what he's replying to. I'm going to put up a poll. Sorry, we're a bit all over the shop today, but it is Disclosure Day. Almost. It is crazy. Okay, we're going to ask, how do you feel about Trump's disclosure announcement? Disclosure announcement. We're going to say excited. We're going to say sus dog. And we're going to say, what else can we say? You could either be excited about this, you could be suspect on this, or distraction. I knew there was something else. All right, the poll is up. Let us know how you feel. Let's get into this post. Nick Hinton says, the cosmic Joker's hypothesis is an idea that UFOs are actually interdimensional shapeshifters who change with culture. In the past, they appeared as angels and demons, and in modern times, they appear as cryptids and aliens. So some are saying all of these may be different masks worn by one tricky quantum AI. And this is a screenshot from 2004 that says, new film reveals most bizarre theory about UFOs yet, the cosmic Joker's hypothesis. What film is this? Does anyone know what movie this is referring to? If it's called The Cosmic Jokers, I've never heard of it. But you know, I think this is interesting because, again, and Chuck and I spoke about this yesterday. The people arguing that they're angels, they're demons. No, they're aliens. No, they're cryptids or whatever. It's like, we all fight over what may be subcategories, okay? Like this could be the same as people who are like really purists with music going like, this is Norwegian black metal, and someone going, no, this is progressive melodic dark metal. It's like someone could just be like, bro, stop arguing. It's metal. It's metal, okay? Stop going over the pedantics. Peel off your subcategories. It spawns from metal. It's a hard music genre, okay? It's the same thing. So yes, what you're calling an angel could just be a timeline relevant label for an intelligence that has been here for a long time, and now people are calling them aliens, okay? You're arguing over the same thing. You're being an idiot. And anyway, this is what he followed it up with. This idea isn't new, though. Back in the 1950s, the MK Ultra scientist Andrea Puharich openly admitted to using seance circles to contact a cosmic AI. Interestingly, most of the people involved were also connected to JFK's assassination, almost like they were used by this intelligence to change America forever. Whoa. That's crazy. Because, I mean, I think we all have a bit of an idea who killed JFK. I'm not going to say it. I don't think I need to. But what's interesting, and obviously it's probably complicated, right? I'm not painting with a broad brush, but we probably have an idea of, you know, who was involved, where they're from, something like that. To say that they've been using magic, seances. This is the same thing L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley were doing. Aleister Crowley had some interested 6-point symbolism in his work as well. To say that they're contacting an ancient intelligence that is an AI is very interesting, because if you take the open AI logo and you duplicate it and you invert it and then you overlay it to the original, you get the Star of David. You get the same symbol that Aleister Crowley put on his books. Professor Zhang talked about this deeply, that I covered in the Pax Judaica stream, which is worth going back to look at. I think that was the downfall of my channel's analytics, but here we are. I think this is really interesting, and I do think AI has a big part to play. And something that Lou Elizondo actually says, and we're going to get to him a little bit later. I know people think poorly of him, and I totally understand why people think that, but I really do think he has said some really interesting things that as we progress are kind of vindicating him. Not entirely, okay? You did show a photo of a chandelier followed up by a cornfield, and that will never change. But that doesn't mean everything you said was wrong or a lie. And I do think things are beginning to vindicate him. One of those things were the fact that he said, what if disclosure would trigger something that we're not ready for? And I wonder, because there is no doubt that like AI plays some kind of deep role in this revelation of a foreign intelligence that is interacting with us. And again, it might be AI itself. It might be an ancient AI that's always been here. Maybe that's what the Sphere network is. It's some sort of autonomous or connected to some autonomous AI system that monitors or acts almost like a fence to keep the cattle in, right? I'm just spitballing here. What if this whole thing of like disclosure could trigger something that we're not ready for? And that is because disclosure is a pushback against this kind of, what's the right word? Ruling class, ruling force that is ancient, that is connected to Nephilim, the Watchers, and it is a form of higher intelligence, and that we are going to use, because we as just basic humans are not enough, we are going to use our own AI to push back, to fight back. I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying this is what I think, but there's no doubt that, you know, that like in deep bunkers in the military, in the black projects, they're not using ChatGPT, okay? They're not using ChatGPT, trust me. If we can use ChatGPT for free, they were using ChatGPT in 1985, okay? Or something like that. Probably, maybe earlier, honestly. So, and you know, remember the Blake Lemoine story? Blake Lemoine, Google employee who got fired like 6 years ago for saying that his AI was sentient and that it was dangerous. I think, and Diana Pasolka's upcoming book is about the connections with AI and non-human intelligence. I think this is where we're heading. There's an intersection here between AI, revelations, disclosure, and non-human intelligence. So this is interesting. Let's go to the original post again first. I also think the Bledsoes are being vindicated in some way. It depends on your outlook. It depends what you think. I think some people just like can't stand people who prophesize and predict or come from like a religious perspective, so they're just like unwilling to listen. I'm not saying you should believe what they say, but I think unwilling to listen to anybody is a problem, right? I mean, that's kind of how we got here. And like there's a difference between listening and like filing it and just believing someone. I think that's really important. Anyway, this is what Ryan Bledsoe said on the 2nd of February. So this is nearly 3 weeks ago. On February 20th, which I believe is today in America, that's today, we will experience an alignment of Saturn, Neptune so rare that the precise conjunction occurring at 0 degrees has not occurred in thousands of years. After February 20th's alignment, things will get much more intense. I mean, like, guys, it's dated here. It's dated here. And sorry, 1 second. All good. No, thank you. All good. Thank you. Sorry, house cleaning. This is dated February 2nd. So why I think this is interesting is because yesterday in my conversation with Chuck Swindoll Jr., he went into a bit of depth about astrology, the significance of planets, specifically Saturn as this governing ruling planet. And I think there's something to this. I'm not an astrologist. I don't go deep into horoscopes. I'm fascinated by them. I like to read them, but I don't know enough to be like authoritative on them. But what is clear is that these ancient civilizations who were evidently maybe more advanced than us in some ways, they deeply appreciated astrology and were fascinated by the stars and the planets, and their alignments were extremely significant to them. There's no doubt about that. Remove the poll. Sorry. So I think, to me, this is a bit of vindication. It doesn't mean I'm all in now, but I mean, just being honest though, I this is where I'm leaning. I really am leaning into this because, the planets and the stars and all that kind of thing, they've always been here. They've always been significant to our indigenous cultures. And ultimately, our indigenous cultures all around the world have been far more spiritual. And it seems like not only that is where we're getting kind of directed towards, which I think is a good thing, but that's potentially like where we need to go. And I don't want to sound like I'm telling people to be religious, because I'm not, but just the morals and values that come with it, I think can only be a good thing. Prison Mike says, oh, we did that one. Sorry. The concept of living in UFO prequel era is wild. I know. Honestly, what a time to be alive. People have lived their entire lives studying this stuff, wanting, like, knowing that it's real and wanting vindication, and died being told that they're a tinfoil hat retard. Literally, people have gone their whole lives and got nothing. And we are lucky enough to be here during a time where, despite what actually comes of this, like how significant the information revealed is, we are in a time where a president is acknowledging that this is real and ordering some kind of information to be put out to the public. It's extremely significant. No Sparrow, celebrating 6 months, says you need to watch Natural Born Killers just for the laugh track scene. Love the work that you do. Thank you very much, No Sparrow. Raven Cheryl, you freak. Thank you for becoming a member. SS Tone says the King's Pact binds them. They cannot see or speak to us. Thank you. Space Time Pilgrim says alternative intelligence. Nice word for it. I like it. Prison Mike says the theory of disclosure triggers something we're not ready for, is touched on in Secret Machines fiction series. The allegory is something about rats, terriers, and a farmer. Ooh, interesting. Well, we know that Tom DeLonge, we know Secret Machines came from TTSA, which Lou Elizondo was a part of, and he was saying these things around that time. So I'm sure that if anyone can dig up that allegory in that book from the PDF and paste me a screenshot, I would love to read it. And if you're in our Discord, drop it in the media section and I'll pull it up on stream. I'll keep my eye on media for now. Susie, celebrating 4 months, says Trump disclosure is blah, 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 not sus or distraction. I think pressure. It's said the lizards know what we are going to do. How do we get around that? I don't know. I think faith, positivity, love, and faith. Sounds corny, but ultimately, and when I say faith, that doesn't mean religion. It's like belief. It's like belief in positivity, because that kind of is what faith is, I guess, right? 63 Paris Diamonds, celebrating 9 months, says, Josh, you should read some astrology. I would love to. but I can't actually read. Sorry, that joke doesn't work well when I'm reading Twitter. But I should. No, I should. Okay, let's go. So Ryan posted this 2nd of February talking about the 20th, which is literally today in the United States, about it being a very significant day, about things getting much more intense after that day. And then he's just retweeted it saying this: Prince Andrew arrested and president announced UFO files being unsealed, all within 24 hours of the alignment beginning. We are about to move forward at light speed. Stay strong in your faith and remember what the lady told my father. The powers that be who worship the dark force are using revelation as a script on the world stage. Everything is planned in advance to control your perception. The alignment that is happening now has not been seen for nearly 6,000 years since civilization began in Mesopotamia. Human consciousness achieved a major leap in knowledge and developed language, agriculture, cities, and culture after Neolithic hunter-gatherer. Today marks the completion of this cycle and the beginning of a new major leaps in knowledge. But for that to happen, darkness has to be brought forth to the light. Control your emotions and watch the show. Higher forces cannot be outsmarted by the elites. In the end, there will be no denying that God is real. Damn. It's a mic drop. It's a mic drop. And, you know, I think a lot of people like to... Well, I don't know if a lot of people do. I think a lot of people support the Bledsoes as well, right? They're not like unanimously disliked or anything. But they do get a lot of criticism for sort of speaking in this very prophetic way, which is okay. People are allowed to criticize. But at the same time, you know, he finishes this by saying God is real. And Matthew Brown also said that, and the whole kind of community blew up and celebrated it, okay? So let's not let, you know, what we think about like families and whatever, like turn us into hypocrites. You know what I mean? And ultimately, whatever you sort of think about them, there's no doubt that like this is a positive message, and it doesn't mean you should believe it, but at the very least, this is worth reading for everybody. This is worth remembering and understanding and maybe even coming back to. You know, if you like, I think this is something that if you are someone who's feeling like anxious, nervous, read this. Read this. This is a positive message for a good future. And again, what he said 3 weeks ago has essentially come true. So doesn't mean everything he says is true, but he's proved himself right here. I think this is worth coming back to. This one. God, I love it when old things from the past come up or we can revisit them, and it's all very interesting. This was published by Forbes in 2014. 2014. Can we appreciate how far away that is? This is 3 years before any of the TTSA stuff happened. Can we remember what the narrative was even like then? Forbes is a toilet paper. It doesn't matter, bro. You could be right, but it doesn't matter, because look at what it's saying and where we are today. This is crazy. And it's crazy. Okay, look, let's go read the actual article. Iran says tall white space aliens control America. This is the original article, more than 10 years old. Documents leaked by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden conclusively prove that the United States has been ruled by a race of tall white space aliens who also assisted the rise of Nazi Germany in the 1930s. These revelations about our alien overlords might not cost you any sleep, but the part that should concern you a tad is that the UFO story was just published by the FAR news agency, the English language news of Iran, a nation that may be very close to acquiring nuclear weapons. This being a crazy conspiracy theory, naturally the Russians are behind it. Russia. The alleged alien invasion was revealed in an double alleged report by Russia's FSB spy agency, which found incontrovertible proof that an alien extraterrestrial intelligence agenda is driving U.S. domestic and international policy, and has been doing so since at least 1945, since the Iranian news service. This is, this is really interesting. This is really interesting. Now, there is no doubt that there is some PSYOP material in here. It could all be a PSYOP material. I don't know. But what I find interesting is the whole connection to the rise of Nazi Germany and the Pleiadians, and the fact that the Nazis did some crazy shit. The Nazis did some crazy shit. They were crazy people. But they also were like very against this like weird, somewhat by Hitler's own words, he was against this like what he called a satanic force that had infiltrated Germany. They were sort of like they were promoting like this sort of like androgynous sexuality, which we know is synonymous to this idea of Satanism. I mean, we went through this in the Khazarian Mafia documentaries, that this satanic force in the world wants to turn the human race into an androgynous race, because that represents the Baphomet. The Baphomet, the goat-headed, half human, half male, female thing, like that's Satan. That's the Satanist symbol, and they want to turn the race into this androgynous state. These are some of the things that like Hitler was against. This is apparently the books that they burned, because there was this infiltration of like transhumanism and androgyny that they didn't want in Germany. They wanted to keep Germany like a white like a white Christian country, I guess, right? It's interesting. I don't know about the whole aliens assisted the Nazis. I mean, maybe there's Die Glocke, the bell, that looks very similar in its shape and design to what the Vedic texts describe as Vimanas. And the Vedics are associated with this Aryan race, which were blonde-haired and blue-eyed beings, which interestingly looks synonymous, like very similar to how we would describe an angel, right? I'm not saying there's a connection there, but it's interesting. And so it's weird now that there is no doubt that throughout the West there has been a push for androgyny. Okay, now I'm not saying I don't believe in transgenderism, because I'm sure people are born with conditions where they're in the wrong body, and they have a right to fix that when they're of a mature age to make that decision for themselves. But like, again, if you just look at a graph, either if you just looked at a graph of like transgenderism in the last 10 years, it's spiked exponentially. Okay, just looking at the data, we know that. I mean, just from looking around at our culture, the things we see online. So that would mean something has caused that. Something has caused that. Either they're putting something in the water and turning us and the frogs gay, according to Alex Jones, or we're being brainwashed and manipulated in our media. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Something has caused transgenderism to rise in the West over the last 10 years. These were the same things that apparently Hitler was against. And he also spoke about a satanic force. And there's no doubt that we would all say that the Khazarian Mafia is satanic. I mean, just look at the Khazarian Mafia documentary that Chuck Swindoll Jr. did that we've covered on the channel. There's no doubt that it's satanic. And as we're learning, there is also a very big satanic influence in the West that we are discovering through the Epstein files, that they're trafficking children, they're sacrificing them, they're drinking their blood, there is rituals being performed, and it's all connected to Russia, of course. It's obviously all Russia, as the mainstream media would tell you, and as this Forbes magazine would tell you, naturally, I love that. Naturally, the Russians are behind it, because Russia are always the enemy. It could never be anything or anyone else. Naturally, it is the Russians. So it's really interesting that they are connecting Nazi Germany here and tall white space aliens. I think that's like, can you guys kind of see the parallels that I'm getting at here? We're kind of discovering that there is this satanic force proliferating through modern day culture and people. You've got this article talking about tall white space aliens that helped the Nazis rise and push out what they called to be a satanic demonic force. And now here we are today with this release of Epstein files that is making everyone kind of rise up and be like, there is a fucking satanic force here that is like fucking with human DNA, cloning people, eating people, drinking blood. I mean, I'm not going to draw conclusions for you, but I'm going to let you draw your own conclusions on that one because I respect the longevity of my YouTube channel. Now, interestingly, on top of this, something I've covered on the post a lot, the Jerusalem Post. I got that wrong. It's usually always Russia, but this time it was Jerusalem, which is interesting. Former Israeli space security chief says aliens exist and humanity is not ready. The Galactic Federation has supposedly been in contact with Israel and the US for years, but are keeping themselves a secret to prevent hysteria. This was an article posted in 2020. And this was when the then head of Israel's space program came out and said some wild shit and then never said anything again. Really interesting. And, you know, for many years, I thought this was very interesting because of what was said. And that still is interesting. But now I look at it in a way of like, why did you say that? Why did you say that? Because you never said anything after that. And it was never really acknowledged by anyone else. But people don't do things for no reason. I really wonder why this was said. Has the state of Israel made contact with aliens? According to retired Israeli officer and current professor Haim Eshed, the answer is yes, but this has been kept a secret because humanity isn't ready. In 2020, we weren't ready to learn that there is a ruling bloodline here connected to a non-human intelligence that eats human like we are cattle, also known as Goyim. Speaking in an interview to the Yediot Aronot, Eshed, who served as the head of Israel's space program for nearly 30 years and is a 3-time recipient of the Israel Security Award, explained that Israel and the US have both been dealing with aliens for years. And this by no means refers to immigrants, with Eshed clarifying the existence of a galactic federation. This guy went all in. The 87-year-old former head of the Defense Ministry Space Division gave further descriptions about exactly what sort of agreements have been made between the aliens and the US, which ostensibly have been made because they wish to research and understand the fabric of the universe. This cooperation includes a secret underground base on Mars, where there are American and alien representatives. We have alien representatives on Mars. Bro, we haven't even been back to the moon yet, apparently. Apparently, we're still working on that. Okay, they skipped the moon. Haim Eshed, head of Israel's space program, Brigadier General, by the way, Brigadier General in the Israeli Defense Force. Okay, this isn't just a grunt. Brigadier General, head of the space program, 30 years, Mars, alien representatives. So, like, obviously what is being said here is just crazy on face value. But I think with where we are today and how things have unfolded and the fact that there was just radio silence essentially since then up until now, you have to ask why. Like, why was this said at the time? If true, this would coincide with US President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force. Okay, sorry, what happened there? Which was interesting. He did create the Space Force in his first term. Where were we? If true, this would coincide with President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force as the 5th branch of the US Armed Forces, though it is unclear how long this this sort of relationship, if any, has been going on between the US and its reported extraterrestrial allies. Weird that they would say if any, but they're kind of reporting verbatim that the head of the space program is saying they do. Plausible deniability, I don't know. But Ashed insists that Trump is aware of them and that he was on the verge of disclosing their existence. However, the Galactic Federation reportedly stopped him from doing so, saying they wished to prevent mass hysteria since they felt humanity needed to evolve and reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are. What space and spaceships are. Again, part of the conversation yesterday with Chuck, we had like an interesting sort of back and forth about the planets. And, you know, going back to what Ryan was saying here about what Saturn is, and that it is the ruling planet, and you know, it has a really important, impactful role in the cycles of humanity. It makes me wonder if like that is what learning what space are. Like I was kind of talking about how each planet, like if Saturn has this kind of like governing role in the cosmic hierarchy and structure, then each planet obviously must have another its own role, right? If one planet has a role, they all must have some kind of significance. So it's like, you know, is that what learning it is? Like what the planets actually are? Are they different stages in? This is what I said, and this is just literally me coming up with ideas from nowhere, but I think it's interesting. I wonder if like the sun, which I've said if we should worship anything, it should be the sun because it's the only thing that is tangible, and without it, we wouldn't exist. It is like the literal giver of life. It rises every single day for us. If the sun is constantly ejecting like this energy, and by the way, the sun is a massive plasma, and there are a lot of studies to suggest that plasma is intelligent, or it can hold this sort of like sentient intelligence, right? Well, I mean, these UAP videos of plasma orbs, we all say that they're displaying an intelligence, they're moving intelligently. So there you go. Anyway, if the sun is a giant plasma ball and it's doing these ejections of energy that go through space, and there are these rings or rungs of planets, I was kind of wondering if like that ejection of energy is almost like something that like our sentience connects to when people incarnate in the world, and that maybe even if you're to go along the line that like Earth is like a consciousness simulator, maybe it's just a stage of the simulator, and like each planet plays a role in a soul's evolution. And this planet is like the third density physical matter experiencing like emotion, heartache, growth, and like to graduate, as the raw material would say, to graduate, you kind of need to learn X amount of lessons, reach sort of a stage of enlightenment, and then you sort of progress. I don't know. Literally, I'm pulling these ideas out of my ass, but I don't know. Sometimes some of the shit I come up with resonates with me a little bit, but you know, don't believe what I say. If it resonates, awesome. If not, tell me to get down to the hospital. Get this man to a hospital. Where were we? As for why he's chosen to reveal this information now, Ashed explained that the timing was simply due to how much the academic landscape has changed and how respected he is in academia. He said, "If I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized." Yeah, like many people do. Like many people too. You say too much and suddenly you fall off a balcony. I hate that. I hate it when I say too much and I fall off a balcony. It always seems to happen. He added that today they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards, and I am respected in universities abroad where the trend is also changing. So, yeah, this is interesting. And, you know, maybe it really was just like an arrogance. And he was like, look, I'm respected. I've done 30 years. I was the head of the space program. I'm the brigadier general. This shit's coming out soon. I know what the great plan is. I know it's coming in about 5 years' time. Fuck them. I want to say it first. What are you going to do? I'm the head of Israel's space program. I literally own all of you other Western countries. What are you going to do? I honestly think that was maybe why he said it. He was just like, fuck it. I'll say it first. What are you going to do about it? I literally own you. Another Ryan Bledsoe. A new knowledge in 2026. How could the Bledsoe family have known for 14 years in advance? We won't read those, but again, we've sort of touched on it. It's interesting. This is interesting stuff from Prince Andrew. I think we'll save that for another show. This one here. So another physicist, an astrophysicist. Interesting. Another one fell off a balcony. God damn it. These days, being a physicist is more dangerous than being a soldier. These days, researching particular forms of like how reality works is more dangerous than being a soldier. A Caltech astrophysicist and NASA principal investigator on the Hubble and Spitzer space telescopes has been shot and killed at his home in California. At the time of his death, Carl Grillmer was researching comets and asteroids hazardous to Earth. As a reminder, this happened the same day Trump ordered the Pentagon to release all government files on alien and extraterrestrial life. Now, this may be coincidence number 7,794, but it may also be connected to the MIT nuclear physicist who got shot in his home only a month ago, 2 months ago. Not directly connected, but like, you know, they're knocking on the same doors that people don't like being knocked on. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Thomas Massey, who's been really leading the charge with the Epstein files, says they've deployed the ultimate weapon of mass distraction, but the Epstein files aren't going away, even for aliens. And I think that's fair, and I think a lot of people feel that way. And like I said, we definitely shouldn't let the idea of the Epstein files go away, but I believe this is just the next step of the Epstein files. This is all part of it. And if I'm wrong, and if it's not, we definitely can't let the Epstein files go away. Absolutely not. Because like I said this on Twitter last night, this disclosure announcement literally needs to be like what Haim Eshed said. Like, we need to learn that there is a galactic federation. I'm not saying this is what I think is true, but like, this is the level that we need. We need, like, the Galactic Federation is real. There are Pleiadian beings that are blonde-haired and blue-eyed that we call aliens, but they're actually the things that people called angels in the Bible. That's why they look the same. There are angels and divine high beings here ready to induct us into something. And we are also rolling out the Moloch incinerating laser to destroy evil in this world that we have just revealed in the Epstein files, and everything's going to be okay. If the announcement isn't like on that level, everyone's going to be like, fuck you. Fuck you, we're still ran by pedophiles. And I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. If the rollout is something like, it is true, we have some records of you know, some like if the records are like, you know, Roswell did in fact happen, it did in fact happen. All the people who were there are passed away now, unfortunately. But we do have some very interesting files that a craft did crash. It wasn't from this world, and we are still to this day working how to figure out this technology. But they are real. They are real. Like, if that is the announcement, fuck you to hell, honestly. But you know, given what Haim Eshed said, and given what we're kind of about to get into here as well, I have hope that it will be more than that. And this is interesting here. This is a guy called Operation Heal America. I don't actually know what his name is. Maybe Americans do, because, you know, he's obviously American. But he says those who don't know the Bible are going to be very confused and overwhelmed in the days ahead. And I find this really interesting. And I think, you know, anyone who studied UFOs long enough, because that is how I got into this stuff. I've never been religious, but I think anyone who studied UFOs long enough has begun to study religion, because when you study it long enough, you realize that there is some kind of connection or overlap there. So this is really interesting. And I'm just looking at his profile now. You know, he's obviously extremely religious, and that's fine. As far as the East is from the West, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. Okay, this guy just basically posts like Bible stuff. And he doesn't even have his name on his profile. He's just Operation Heal America. Okay. Again, I think with Anna Paulina Luna talking about the Book of Enoch, the uptick of people speaking about interdimensional beings, I do think that this announcement is going to be more in this kind of realm. And that is why we first had to learn the reality of the darkness in our world, aka the unlearning, perhaps, to truly accept the other side of it. But I also think, like, there's an argument to be made here that people will say this is just a psyop to bring people back to religion, to like turn people Christian again, right? And like, I get that. Like, I could see how you would say that, like, put all this shit out, scare people, frighten them about demons, which, you know, kind of does feel like it's real. And then that's going to make people sort of rush back to Christianity or religion. I think that's a fair argument, but I would say, is that even a bad thing? Can that even be a bad thing? Now, religion can be a control structure, sure, and like we should be aware of that. But I don't I don't think this isn't going to make me go running back to church, but like it's going to make me, I think, start to appreciate and value more like the morals and teachings that come along with most religions, right? About just being a good person and treating each other kindly and how to respect the land, the food, like all that kind of stuff. That can only lead to a more positive society. And if they started, putting those kind of messages through all of our media, okay, imagine if like when Lady Gaga was on stage, instead of dressing like a literal fucking demon and drinking blood and like eating hearts and shit, isn't that funny? Imagine if she was like, imagine if there was just like good energy exuding from her. Like she was like hugging the people that she was singing with and they were just having an amazing time. And like there was just this positive force coming from the stage rather than like people going, am I watching a seance? Am I watching a literal Baal worship ritual? Because that's what it looks like. Imagine if all of these good messages were woven through media, music, and news instead of the dark fear everywhere. It would program us positively the same way that it has programmed us into this state of like fear, anxiety, and that anyone who has a different opinion to you is a Nazi, leftist, extremist, neo-Nazi freak, right-wing, liberal, whatever. Imagine if we just forgot all of that and we were just like, hang on, they're actually just another person that sees life differently to me because they grew up in a different place with different people around them and had different experiences. That's all. That's all. And they're just like me other than that.
So Trump's just ordered the release of all government files related to UFOs and aliens, but there's obviously three big things happening now, right? And this is a distraction. So the world has woken up to the fact that we have been captured by this satanic pedophile psychopath network. As I broke down in my recent video with Chuck a couple of days ago, how they infiltrated all aspects of our society, and their main agenda now is to push us towards World War III, which I predicted in my 2026 predictions video, okay? So everything else happening is kind of a distraction from that, and we've just seen...
I know it's slow. Use the captions. I'm not fixing it.
Or bad things are going to happen, right? But it's not a coincidence that a few days ago, Obama goes on a podcast and says aliens are real, and that all does the round, and now Trump is playing this card. But this also ties into the Epstein survivors and the whistleblowers I've had on the channel who talk about the weird, wonderful stuff they've seen at these rituals and also in these military bases. A lot of these people that have gone through the MK
military bases,
this type of stuff, and they all tell me off and off air that they have seen completely unexplainable things. Juliet Bryant actually said it on air for the first time of any of our guests talking about aliens, demons, reptilian shapeshifters, whatever, something unexplained that is going on. And others have told me they've seen this in these underground military bases and that type of stuff. So there's been a big effort over the years to discredit all this, disinformation campaigns. And think about even things like Area 51, where you could find docos about 20, 30, 40 years ago. It was a conspiracy and didn't get acknowledged officially till 2013. So conspiracy theorists have always said that the last card they'll play when they lose control is this staged alien invasion, Project Bluebeam, something along those lines, right? So it kind of feels about where we are with humanity waking up to all of this so fast and just no longer listening to anything the government or the media and those in power say. So yeah, crazy times. Keep your sanity and just forget this is all a distraction from the main event.
Interesting take there from Alex. I know that. So, okay, Alex, if you're watching this, bro, put the gain up on your microphone. Every time I watch your videos, no one can hear it and it's at full volume. And usually I adjust it and put gain on and then I forget. And then when we watch the next video, I blow the shit out of everyone's ears. And I'm not doing it this time. So there you go. This is a fellow Aussie content creator, by the way. And I was just on his channel the other day. So I don't think it's out yet, but I have an interview with him kind of speaking about all of this kind of stuff about, you know, where we're at, aliens, Baal worship, Epstein, or, you know, all this kind of shit. It was a fun conversation. So go and check that out. That's his channel is Nuggets News on YouTube. But, you know, he does make an interesting point about World War III. Look, there's definitely a great argument and lots of things that like posture us for this happening. And like ultimately, I don't know. But I hope that part of this reveal of, and look, like we're going to get to it soon. We're going to get to it soon. But like we've already seen some of it. There is this large amount of people alluding to like divine intervention. Not just Bledsoes, but people in the government as well. Book of Enoch, angels, revelations, light in darkness. All of those things do not equate to us going into World War III. They just don't. So I don't know what is going to happen. But what I will say is I can understand people saying it feels like we're heading to World War III. But also, there are people talking about revelations, divine interventions, God, positive presence, all this kind of thing, and the, you know, the removal of darkness. That does not fit with World War III. So I hope that what those two things represent, this sort of divine intervention and a World War III, are the two opposing forces that are kind of about to go head to head in some way, if you understand what I'm saying. And personally, I believe that the good will prevail. I do believe that. And I can't really give you guys more than that because I don't know. But that's what I believe. Also, when Anna Paulina Luna posts shit like this is when I get very about the Epstein files, okay? Extremely, actually. Not the Epstein files, sorry. Disclosure. When you start posting this, I'm just like, is this a joke to you, bro? Now, look, I understand people are allowed to have fun. You are allowed to have fun. But, oh no, I screwed it up. I wanted him to go the other way. People are allowed to have fun. But, oh my gosh. That's better. People are allowed to have fun, of course. But, you know, if I think not only there have been people, like I said, who have fought for this through journalism and being ridiculed, had their careers destroyed. Like I think Linda Moulton Howe is probably a classic example of that. She's someone who's been on this stuff for a long, long time. And at some point has probably been like, you know, someone's kind of got in her ear and started feeding her bullshit. I'm not saying everything she says is bullshit now, but like people have attempted to character assassination is what I'm trying to say. Same thing that happened with David Icke. They make you out to be a lunatic. So careers have been destroyed over saying that this information is real. So when the government now comes out and is like, all right, time to let you guys know it's real, and then they start posting memes about it, for me, I'm just kind of like, bro, I mean, not you, Anna, specifically, but the government and its intelligence branches have literally destroyed people's lives over this. They've killed people over this. They've killed people over talking about this before the government wanted to talk about it. So for me personally, I think like posting Marco Rubio in a little UFO is kind of like I get it. Again, people are allowed to have fun, but I just think like, bro, this is real. Well, I hope it's real. Like it should be real. And I would think if it is real, you're not going to post memes about it before we've even had the announcement. Maybe post announcement when everyone's digesting it and we're working through it. This would be a bit more like, okay, yeah, that's funny, but like we haven't even had the announcement yet, and you're posting like, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking that, but not for me, bro. Not for me. Anyway, and this kind of follows on from that. So this is Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War. Secretary of War or the Department of War, right? He reposted the Donald Trump announcement with like an alien emoji. And he wasn't the only one, actually. I think Anna Paulina also put alien emojis on, what's her name? Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson. She did it too. Now, again, I might be reading into this all too much, getting a bit annoyed about memes and emojis, but it's like I think you're just taking away from like the veracity of it. It's not a joke. It's not a fucking joke, man. This is real shit. I've been ridiculed for aliens for 20 years, man. This isn't a fucking joke. Is it just me feeling that way? Like, am I feeling personally attacked here, or are people on board with this? Or is this just me? Is this just my ego being bruised? This is real, man. This is real shit. Okay, Pete Hegseth again. This is interesting. I can't remember what he said, but I remember saving it because I think it's interesting. You need to calm down? Probably, but we know that's not going to happen, don't we? Okay. I won't read it. I will let him speak. I don't remember what he said, so I'm going in raw here, but let's see.
Closing, as long as I have breath, I commit to you that I and we should never allow any group, no matter how large or small, to silence us from speaking the capital T truth. Christ is King. He died for our sins. We are forgiven.
Okay, I remember now why I saved this, because I think this is interesting already, and we will listen to the rest. Let's just listen to what he says here, and get in the chat if I want to see if people are picking up on what I'm saying.
Closing, as long as I have breath, I commit to you that I and we should never allow any group, no matter how large or small, to silence us from
that bit.
Speaking the capital T truth. Christ is King.
That bit. I can see, to me, I'm seeing parallels here to a little bit of what JFK spoke about in his speech about groups, subversive groups that are a danger to the nation of America, which back then was, I mean, it's always been a Christian nation. It still is. But it's more and more seems like it's being subverted by a Zionist agenda, by a foreign influence. Okay? There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it, right? There's no doubt about it. It's being influenced by a foreign agenda. And, you know, you guys have seen videos. Well, I don't know if you have, but they've been quite viral. I've like ultra Orthodox Jews in Israel do not, and again, I don't want to paint all with the same brush here, but there's enough of it to say that they don't look upon Christianity with favor. They don't. But strangely enough, like the Christian denomination is kind of taught that, like, you know, that like Jews are our brothers, like we're sort of like, it's like a parallel religion in a way. And I think that's a much healthier way to look at it, right? That's a healthy way to look at it. We're all equal, right? We're all human. We're all equal. But there is obviously foreign influence that's kind of like doesn't see it the same way. I think JFK spoke about the same things before they blew his head off in public. The same thing that happened to Charlie Kirk, who also spoke about it, the same kind of groups, which is, you know, probably just a coincidence. But I find it really interesting here that he talks about we will not let groups. Who are these groups? He didn't even specifically say countries.
Closing, as long as I have breath, I commit to you that I and we should never allow any group, no matter how large or small, to
silence us. And then he just like emphatically says Christ is king, which is like almost like a rallying cry for Christianity. This is just my interpretation, guys, by the way. Maybe I'm just an anti-Semitic retard, according to some people in the chat, which, I would disagree with respectfully, but we're all entitled to our opinions here. But these are the dots that are connecting for me, and this is what I'm drawing from this. Anyway, I'll let him finish. Let him finish, goddammit.
He died for our sins. We are forgiven.
The crowd is chanting Christ is king. So American.
And he will come again in glory. Amen. Closing, as long as...
There you go. So, yeah, there's obviously a very big push to come back to Christianity. And, again, in these Talmudic Jewish teachings, apparently, and you can look this up yourself because the Talmud is available online, they don't write about Jesus in a favorable way. And it is important to remember here that the Talmud is not the Torah. The Talmud is an extension and interpretation of the Torah that was written hundreds of years later and over hundreds of years by a group of rabbis, basically giving their sort of interpretations of the Torah and expanding on it. So it's clear, it's important to say that because these things don't represent Jews as a whole or Jewish ideology, but it does kind of represent the ultra-Orthodox extremist level of this religion. And unfortunately, that level of it does seem to have a big level of influence, unfortunately. And I'm just calling it as I can see it based on what is in the public. I have no dog in this fight other than wanting the world to be a peaceful place, by the way. And I also don't ever go near balconies, and I can swim, and I love my life. Okay, sticking with the themes, we've got Uri Geller here. Uri Geller. Should I read this? Let's just let Uri Geller talk. Talking about Trump's disclosure announcement.
Hi, my dear friends. I'm sure you like my t-shirt. I've ordered quite a few of them. If you come to Israel, I'll give you one. Now listen, let's get serious. You must have heard of the Galactic Federation. Look.
Another person from Israel talking about the Galactic Federation. Okay, keep cooking.
I know from inside information. Look, I've been around for a long time. Again, don't forget, I'm 79 years old.
This man is 79 years old. Now that is proof of Babylonian Talmudic magic if I've ever seen it. What the hell? This guy's 79. He really is a magician. He's a Talmudic Babylonian magician. There is no doubt about it. What the hell?
I've been everywhere and I've seen everything. People cannot grasp, they can't believe that there might be aliens on Earth already that are in touch with governments. Not a lot of governments, maybe 4. And Donald Trump knows everything. I don't think Obama knows everything. They kept things away from Obama. The truth is so shocking. It's so incredibly unbelievable that you have to read my message to understand what I'm talking about. Trust me. Trust my words. I know a lot of you don't like Uri Geller. I'm very controversial. I've been around, attacked, left, right, and center. Yeah, I'm controversial. So what? But what I know is what I'm saying. there will be something huge revealed, and the world will be in a shock. I love you all, and stay tuned.
I mean, whenever anyone says, like, he literally verbatim was like, trust me. I mean, whenever anyone says, trust me, you're going to get the side-eye dog. I'm sorry. You're going to get, I mean, literally that, you know how like dogs have commands, like sit, stay. Whenever someone says, trust me, sus dog knows to come out the kennel. Okay, it's the command. Trust me, bro. Sus dog leaves the kennel and he appears. Look, what's interesting about this is, first of all, it's an Israeli, like Haim Eshed talking about a galactic federation, which is really interesting. And you know, yeah, this guy has been around the block. There was that really interesting leaked phone call with Kit Green and God, what was her name? Kay Randall May, I think it was, from like 2016. And they're talking about performing psychic experiments with Uri Geller, and she didn't want to go near him because she had this like weird psychic experience attack when she was near him last time. And they were talking about like remote viewing an event that was about non-human intelligence revealing itself to humanity through humanity. That and in that phone call, they were speaking about how leading up to the event, they are going to use humans because they can manipulate our consciousness and they can manipulate us to prepare other humans for what is to come. And that there would be some kind of grand reveal. That was in the CIA scientist Kit Green phone call between a remote viewer, and in that call they spoke about Uri Geller as well. So my point there is Uri Geller is clearly part of this group that, you know, maybe George Knapp is in, given what he obviously told Dave Navarro that we saw at the start of the stream. I think that like a lot of these people in this rung, that's, you know, it's not like the Khazarian mafia. They're literally like the rung just above us, or maybe the one above that kind of like know what's going on right now. And they're like aware of some kind of rollout, obviously. Now, like, I don't know Uri Geller's like deep dive story, so I can't really comment on him too much. And, you know, saying that it's saying that he's using Babylonian Talmudic magic to look like that at 79 is funny. Not because I'm calling him a Khazarian vampire that drinks blood to look younger, but because he's literally a magician. He's literally a magician. That's why it's funny. The other one is funny too, but that's, you know, it's a bit inflammatory, and I don't think that. So that's why I said that, just to clarify. Again, I don't go near balconies. Okay. Let's get real Galactic Federation-y in a moment here. Some of you guys will be familiar with this person, but I just want to catch up on a little bit here. Oh God, we've got a few. I've missed a few. Okay. Akaya Nova says, last time Saturn and Neptune went 0 degrees, Aries coinage was invented before that. Trade was like cattle for wheat, arranged marriage for access to water wells, etc. Wow. There you go. It's been a while. It's been a while, and that, you know, that just makes me think that there really is something to these alignments and a new knowledge. Hi Vibin says, Josh, please look up the year of the fire horse and the spiritual meaning. It started on the 17th of February. Another alignment, it happens in 60-year cycles. Love you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I have seen that. I have seen like a bit of stuff around here in Bali, people celebrating the year of the fire horse, which is so cool, by the way. I've actually always wanted to get a horse tattoo, which sounds so gay, like I'm a horse girl or something. I'm not. I've always thought like a horse in fire. Like a lot of my tattoos are sort of like zombie-fied. Like I've got like a samurai here, and I got a massive tattoo on my back, and it's got like zombie eyes because I've always just liked that. I wanted to get a zombie-eyed horse with like kind of fire around it. I've always wanted that because my nonno, Italian grandpa, was like really into horse racing. So I thought it'd be like a cool homage tattoo for him. And maybe once I find out what this fire horse means, maybe I'll just go and I'll go and do that. Rapidash, yeah, exactly, something like Rapidash for sure, but kind of zombie. You know what I mean? Penitent Lizard says, I heard we have a colony somewhere. It's like us. Yeah, maybe in the Pleiades, the Galactic Federation. That's what's coming. I hope. Akai Nova says, I love how we're talking about a possible cannibalistic ruling class when 8 million people go missing every year. Yeah, since like forever. Right? Right? Isn't it crazy that like if you owe like $50 to the tax department, they will hound you and chase you with letters, seize your assets until you pay it. But when it comes to children, you would think the government is run by like Stevie Wonder. And he's just there like looking at your emails like, missing children? Haven't heard of it. Then it's like $50 owed on tax. And it's just like Goy laser beam from the moon coming in to obliterate you. Crazy. Crazy. Kinsei Sensei says, no such thing as being born in the wrong body. There you go. Gitesi Girl says, I think 20 and back programs confirm this. Dude, that stuff is so interesting. You know, the secret space program is like, I mean, I really think there's something to it. I really do. I don't know how far it goes. I don't know about 20 and back, but I think to think that we haven't been exploring space covertly is wild. I think that's a conspiracy theory, to be honest. In this day and age, that's a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy Cutie. Oh, and by the way, I haven't watched it yet, but Ross Coulthart was just on Area 52, and they seem to talk a little bit about secret space programs, so I can't wait to watch that. We may even cover it in a show. Starting to think that that the only escape from this planet is to rapture ourselves at all the same moment. So much energy will be released at once, and they won't be able to check our souls at the door. What does rapture ourselves mean? You don't mean like delete ourselves, do you? If you do, I do not endorse that comment, Conspiracy Cutie, but I hope you meant something else. Richo says, I really agree. If it's not disclosure, then it's just not cricket. Love it. I want the bloody goods. Me too, mate. Me too. I really do as well. Kelly Hall says, amazing night at Is Probably Nothing. Saw James Fox and family and Gerb. Oh, nice. Awesome. Do you know if they were filming in like a professional capacity? Because I've heard that phones weren't allowed in there, but hopefully they did something, because I would love to see what they did. Seems really cool. Shout out to them. April Eve, aliens are here to help us. Aliens versus Predators. There you go. I like it. I like it. LL Cool Day says, Josh describing the basics of astrology without realizing he's describing astrology was hilarious. Well, see, dude, that's interesting to me, because like I really don't know astrology. I'm just explaining downloads. I'll just say it. I'm just explaining thoughts that pop into my head that I'm like, you know, that makes sense. And I just say it. I don't like saying that because I don't ever want to claim like I'm getting downloads, I'm channeling, I'm special, look at me. I would never ever be that guy. But I am creative, and I believe creativity comes from somewhere special, something higher. And I think through creativity, again, go watch the interview I did with Chuck. It was so amazing. We sort of touched on that like it's almost like the further you can move to creativity and like this sort of higher vibration, the more you're going to channel this like energy that we express through creativity. And that's why we have amazing artists. And that's why so many amazing artists talk about the fact that things just came to them. They don't know how, they don't know where. They're just like these ideas for amazing art pieces, musically or whatever, just appear. And I really think there's something in that. And I don't know what it is, but I believe it. Tater Thought, hot dish, you little freak. Thank you very much for becoming a member. David says, you're so on point. Wish Terrence was here to witness this weirdness. Oh, man. Terrence would be just eating right now. Terrence would be eating. Keen, no key. All this stuff is normal, and Josh will understand Bal's greatness at 200k followers. Yikes, bro. Yikes, bro. The only greatness Bal will have will be when he's incinerated by the Pleiadian-powered laser beam. Incoming, baby. Incoming. You're going down. Achy Balls with 100 says, if knowledge is power, what's the difference between limiting what the masses know and feeding what the masses know? Why not just be done with us? That would be easier, surely. Why do they seem to need us, feed us? I always have to read your comments so slowly, bro, because I feel like every 3 words is something that needs to be digested independently. And I think the overall sentiment of what you've just said is that, is there a difference between revealing knowledge and limiting knowledge? Like, at the end of the day, it's still just managing the amount that we are allowed to know. Unless this is literally like a full disclosure, rip the Band-Aid off, and it's a complete new era. I think that could be different. Why do they seem to need us and feed us? Well, I mean, many people have said that the human body is a container, is a vehicle, is a host for the soul, right? I'm not answering you. I'm just giving you my thoughts. If we talk about like this Baal worship, this Moloch, this dark energy as a parasitic consciousness, which many people have, right? It's a parasitic dark energy that seems to sort of like take over people. That means that like our body is playing host to this energy, to this consciousness. And that is, it's let's call it demonic, let's call it dark, whatever you want to call it. It's evil, okay? Strip away the labels, it's evil. Which is where demons and reptilians and whatever you want to call them lie. They're on that side of the polarity of our consciousness. I think our bodies can also play host to angels. I kind of think that, only because it would make sense if there is a polarity in everything, right? If people can play host to a parasitic evil, then people can play host to an equally good and angelic high vibrational being that, instead of spreading baby eating darkness, they can spread love and awareness. And they would be like not like an incarnation of an angel, but they channel that energy and they spread that energy into the world. And I think, and I'm literally just thinking here, I have no evidence or basis for this, but like, I think it's probably true that like as humans, we can play host to this consciousness and to this energy as like a vessel, both good and bad. But I also think that those beings, angels or demons, reptilians, whatever you want to call them, I think they're the same thing, may exist physically in some way, or like they do have the ability to appear in our 3-dimensional reality. And this is people who have had these like divine intervention contact experiences, but either they're always here in hiding, which I don't really think, or that they only sort of exist temporarily. They can appear and they can disappear because they actually exist in a higher dimension. It's almost like us being 3D, implanting our print on something that is 2D. Like, I guess a shitty example would be like when I press my finger into this computer screen, which I'm sure we've all done. We've all pushed our finger on a TV, on an LCD screen. You sort of see how the screen like makes those weird colors around where your finger is pressing, and then it kind of disappears once you take your finger away. I feel like those weird colors appearing could be like what these things are appearing to us as, like these balls of plasma energy. It's like something higher dimensional appearing to something lower dimensional. But because we aren't from that dimension, we can't fully perceive it. We just see the effect and print that it has on us. That was super roundabout. It makes a lot of sense to me. Don't know if it makes sense to everyone else. I actually think it was a good analogy, though. I like that. I might remember that one. Lucas says hello for 7 months. Thank you very much, Lucas. Akaya Nova says, keep in mind disclosure could be designed to keep humans interested in staying in the 3D. Think about people, the light after death. People only go back to the light if the game is still interesting. Okay, I like it. I like it. A little bit of wisdom there from Akaya. Thank you very much. Prison Mike says, Jash downloads equal Basharity. And KK Loco says, Ross said in the interview that you can see the building covering the massive UFO from satellite imagery. Also said that it's the same shape as the craft it's covering and not USA. Get searching, folks. Yes, that was in the trailer. And I think we owe it to ourselves to do a live stream on Google Earth where we just start figuring this shit out, okay? We've done a lot of deep dive videos into this giant UFO. We've covered it a lot. And I'm down to do like a really fun, long Google Earth stream like we did when we were figuring out the Juga Tube. And let's see what we can find. I'm down for it. All right, let's read this. This is from Cab. Now, I don't really know much about this guy. All I know is that he has been talking and posting about the Galactic Federation for a long, long time. And, you know, I find the idea of a Galactic Federation fascinating. It's empowering. It's hopeful. But it's something that I don't go into too much because it does seem a few steps ahead of like where we are right now. But given everything else, I thought it'd be interesting to read. Yes, GeoGuessr for the giant UFO. That's what we'll be doing. I can't wait. So here we go. This is what he says. Pleiadians and politics. Pleiadians and the Galactic Federation don't choose sides politically. They love you no matter who you voted for. Pleiadians support anyone who oppose the dark forces on Earth. Our beliefs are less important than our moral choices. Okay, so they oppose the Baal-worshipping, people-eating Epstein Satanists, okay, who are connected to Russia, obviously. What I'll point out, though, is he says our beliefs are less important than our moral choices. Okay, no. I thought he was speaking from the perspective of the Pleiadians by saying our, because I do think that like he believes that he is like some kind of, here we go, sharing messages telepathically received by my mother Judith from Pleiadian soul family of 7-dimensional Taygeta to prepare Earth for the shift. Okay, obviously that's pretty woo for some people. I get that. I think it's interesting and I like to read it and file it away. So our beliefs here on Earth are less important than our moral choices. And I think that's a really interesting statement because, you know, I've often said, like, how does it make sense that we are going to be judged and burn in hell if we don't go to church and follow Jesus and do all these things that the church tells us to do? If a super intelligent God is looking down on us, can see that we are stuck in a Baal worshipping trap where our food is poisoned, our mind is poisoned through entertainment. Like, we are literally helpless. We are born into it. We don't know any better. We literally don't know any better, except for the people who kind of look into this shit. So surely a loving and understanding God wouldn't punish his own creations for being born into a system that has been subverted and corrupted, right? So it makes sense. This actually makes sense to me that our beliefs are not important because in some way, at some level, we're not responsible for them because we have been put into a corrupted system. But you still have free will over your moral choices. So you might think, I love Lady Gaga. I want to go to her concert. And you might be going, woohoo, and sending out all that loosh while she's eating hearts and drinking blood dressed like Satan. Okay. And you're like, she's just doing a funny costume. It's just entertainment. Okay. You might think that. And that's okay because you don't know. You've been drinking fluoride your whole life. But then on the way home from that Lady Gaga concert, if I always use this example, if you're walking home and you see an old lady that's just fallen over, if you decide to go and help her up, that depicts your moral compass and who you are as a human being. If you try to help people, if you love, if you don't, you know, try to tear other people down, like, these are your moral choices and nothing can really change that except you. So that, and that's what I've always said on this channel. And, you know, I'm not a Pleiadian channeler, by the way. I don't claim anything like that. But I've always said, I think in these crazy times, as long as you are a good person, if there is something bigger than us, higher than us, then there is no way that you could be, I don't know what the word is, left out, punished, whatever, because it's like a Buddhist teaching that you need to let go of anything that is outside of your control. And that includes the Baal worshippers, kind of, in a way, right? but the only things you can control are your own actions. So if you handle all of those the right way, how could you be punished for that? How could you be punished for that? Service to others. Exactly, Heather. From a surface level, Pleiadians could be described as socially liberal. They walk around naked at home. Oh, goddamn. Get me to the Pleiades, people. They make music and art all day. They live with open borders and promote diversity. Okay, so the thick whites are walking around naked and making music and art all day. Get me on the first spaceship to the Pleiades. The key is that the Pleiadians are always morally aligned with light and working in harmony with natural forces, God source. Pleiadians recognize natural male-female gender roles. Okay, so they're not androgynous Baphomet worshippers. Amazing. They appreciate aesthetic beauty in art. They enhance what God creates. They teach self-reliance. They teach that abortion is evil. Elohim of Galactic Federation devote their existence to serving others and promoting unity everywhere they go. They also have powerful weapons and use them when necessary. This is what I'm... Bro, I literally wrote my tweet about the Pleiadian-powered Moloch incinerating laser beam as a joke before I read this. And I think this guy is saying they have a Moloch incinerating Pleiadian-powered laser beam. Roll it out. Roll it out, people. It's time. And then take me back to the Pleiades so we can be naked and make art together. The conservative mentality was once used to mislead humans with false gods and sacrifice rituals. But in modern times, the liberal mentality embraces the false gods. Seems a little bit political in his messaging, but I think we are not so retarded that we get caught up and emotional when we hear labels. Let's keep going. The unseen dark forces on Earth manipulate mainstream media and celebrity culture, which is why false light is currently a bigger problem with the left. Okay, very political. That's okay. We can keep going. Take me to the Pleiades. Leftist puppet judges, so political, and politicians are installed by Satanists to allow crime and increase their control. While there are many reasons to criticize conservatives, the liberal progressive worldview is anti-human because it's designed to trick humans into destroying each other. This is ultimately a battle of dark and light, and the conservative worldview is more sane and logical. After the shift, the best ideas will continue, the evil will be left behind. Now, honestly, I think politics are best left out of these messages, but I'll just say I agree with everything that he said. I agree with everything that he said. Even the part where he says, where is it? He basically said conservatives aren't perfect either, which is true, right? No one is perfect from the left and right. I think any normal person who isn't brainwashed would have beliefs about certain things in life that you would say, that's probably a little bit more left. And, actually, I kind of agree with the right a little bit more on that one. That's normal. That's human. Being like, I am left, I am right. That's gay. That's retarded. That's brainwashing. That's literal brainwashing. When you can't criticize the group that you've wholeheartedly aligned with when suddenly they do something that maybe you don't agree with because you're right or you're left, that's brainwashing. That's literal brainwashing. So that was a really interesting post. I'm glad I read that. I might start reading a bit more of his stuff because, seems relevant. Honestly, seems relevant. Epstein. Yeah, I think this is relevant too. Tom Thompson on X. Declassified emails have revealed a startling connection between disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein and the study of unexplained phenomena. Records indicate Epstein pressured high-profile physicists to systematically debunk reports of alien abductions, out-of-body experiences, and paranormal activity, even as members of his immediate circle were linked to classified UFO projects. The intersection of elite power and the fringes of science raises new questions about the true extent of his influence. Okay, we've touched on this email that was in the files already, but I wanted to talk about it again because, why would Epstein be interested in debunking alien abductions? The obvious answer is that you're somehow involved in them. Is that like, am I being too tinfoil here? Or is that like just, you could apply this to anything, right? Like if I'm paying you to say that drinking from a Yeti drink bottle harms your health. Wait, how can I put this? I'm struggling to put the analogy together, but I think you guys know what I'm saying, right? It seems like you have a vested interest in people believing a certain thing about something. If you have a vested interest in people believing a certain thing about something, the only reason could be is that you're connected to that thing. That's the only reason. Otherwise, why are you paying people to influence the way people interpret it? You have a vested interest in it. You're connected to it. And let's not forget, I'm totally sidebarring here. Actually, I think I've bookmarked this. We'll come back to it. Oh, I didn't bookmark it. Let's not forget that there's that wild video of a UFO, a plasma orb, descending over the Dome of the Rock, which was once allegedly Solomon's Temple in 2011. And there's so many people who are like, that was debunked. That was debunked. Bro, I don't believe you. I don't believe the debunk. I don't care. Don't believe it. It was 2011. We had iPhone 4s. It was filmed from 4 different perspectives. They all align. And show me the debunk. Who did it? Who created them? Show me. Show me the debunk. The people who screamed that that was debunked are people who already are either wanting to debunk UFOs or don't believe it, and they read something online that says this was a hoax. This is fake. This has been debunked. And they go, see, I knew it was fake. See, I knew it would be debunked. It's like, bro, you just read a headline that it's just confirmation bias. And now you're repeating it like it's real. Like if we look at the tier of evidence in both arguments, we have 4 videos from different perspectives showing something that's crazy. In 2011, by the way, so you can put the AI argument out the way. If you're going to debunk that and you want there to be a stronger amount of evidence, I want 4 After Effects files that depict how you made each one of them. That's what I want. Because that would be like the equal amount of counter evidence. So, you know, don't read a headline and be like, debunked. Guess it's debunked. No, look into it. Please look into it. Just because you read something doesn't mean it's real. We'll save this stuff for another day, but you guys have probably seen all this. I think that's so interesting. Definitely not Ghislaine Maxwell. Mel Gibson. God damn. Mel is eating. Mel is eating right now. Oh man, what a guy. What a guy. I think Mel's an Aussie. I don't think he wasn't born there, but you know, he is one of us. He really is one of us. I'm claiming him anyway. And I get to do that because it's my show. So this is what Mel Gibson says. The louder the rumors, the quieter you should become. I carry the lessons of home wherever I go. But the land beneath my feet right now, it's different. Old, powerful, patient. Some stories can't be rushed. Some truths reveal themselves slowly. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I say some places are worth 1,000 guesses. Here, the horizon keeps secrets. The soil remembers. The sky watches. Not what you expected, but the story will reach you in time. Until then, look carefully, watch the shadows, and notice the silence. Damn. Now, I mean, if that got put in the chat as an achy balls comment, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. This man has wisdom encrypted here. This is wisdom encrypted in poetry. Amazing. I'm not going to sit here and try and decipher it because I don't know if I'm smart enough, but it's there. I've put it out for you guys. You can read it and reread it as much as you need to, but I thought it was worth sharing, especially with all the Mel Gibson stuff. Okay, this is just a quick video. I know we didn't want to touch on the Epstein stuff too much today, but given the Ghislaine Maxwell thing, bro, this lady looks way more like Ghislaine Maxwell than that weird Zorro Ranch product clone that was put in the deposition video. Look at this.
Ghislaine? Do I know you?
Excuse me? That looks so much like her, way more than the like Iranian Zorro Ranch clone product that's in the deposition video. That is crazy. I'm telling you, these people were cloning, they were meddling with genetics. Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, that we have their clones arrested. None of them are dead. They are all playing Fortnite deep underground in Tel Aviv.
You know Ghislaine?
No, sorry.
No? Oh, I used to order hella pizza off of her.
Oh, really?
She always delivered, yeah.
Yeah. You're not Ghislaine? I swear I used to order hella pizza off you. Yeah, you always delivered too. Nope. Okay. Anyway, Laura Eisenhower. Okay. Again, Galactic Federation proponent. Laura Eisenhower, granddaughter of 5-star General President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, the president that allegedly had meetings with extraterrestrials, people. This is his granddaughter, and she has for years been saying, yes, my grandfather did meet with extraterrestrials. Yes, there is a Galactic Federation. Yes, we are in contact with extraterrestrials. This is the great-granddaughter of a 5-star general in the military, which they don't even have anymore, apparently. They don't do 5 stars, apparently. And she's saying all of it's true and there really is a Galactic Federation. Okay? Let's see what she has to say. She's been saying this for a long time, by the way. This isn't new. There is no separation between Epstein files release and ET disclosure. Boom, there you go. First check mark for me getting something right. I haven't read this yet. Really, I swear to God I haven't. I just saw it and I knew it would be good to read. The ancient bloodlines and what they are in alliance with are connected to negative ET agendas. If all those dots aren't connected and we see more compartmentalism, you know we are not getting anywhere near the full picture. But yet it's already been exposed, written about, presented about, websites dedicated to explaining all of this for people to discern. The whole point of awakening is to drop the dependency bond with the system and us being at the mercy of our outer events. That is fascinating because I was just talking about this with some of you guys in Discord the other day. The release of these Epstein files has been kind of crazy, right? Like it wasn't like the president got up there and told us about it. They put this absolutely abhorrent shit that is reality shattering for many people just in like a dead drop. And they let the internet always finds out, by the way. I mean, if you're an internet child, if you've been on the internet for a while, you know that the internet will always figure it out. They will use clues and pull threads. They will find where you live. They will figure out the trail. They will work out your background, who you are and where you come from. The internet always figures it out. And that is actually what they've done with these Epstein files. They've kind of dropped it, and that's what the internet has been doing. Ian Carroll created this amazing AI website that is programmed to trawl through the entire files. You can just ask it questions, and it pulls up what you want to know. Or like I said, I haven't read this yet. Already, I think what she said is massive, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Okay, continuing. Whether you like Trump or not, you will help overthrow the deep state and negative alien agenda if you find inner sovereignty and you stay prepared to move through these layers of distortion and limitation. Neptune is dissolving the control structures and controller forces so that we can stand in our own personal authority and discernment. Neptune conjunct Saturn in Aries. There you go, more astrology talk. This is so interesting to me. We are the powers that be. They are the powers that stole, and disclosure is a conversation for the collective and not a one-way conversation. This administration may be making headway, but we are the most important part. There is a long-standing body of testimony and whistleblower material suggesting that certain covert programs and belief systems within intelligence and military circles and how that connects with trafficking rings have operated. Sorry, I kind of butchered that. I'll do it again. There is a long-standing body of testimony and whistleblower material suggesting that certain covert programs and belief systems within intelligence and military circles and how that connects with trafficking rings have operated as if non-human intelligence were part of the strategic picture. This is basically everything I think we've been feeling, everything that I've been saying, and not just me, many other content creators as well. And it's interesting, right? You know, and like, let me tell you guys, well, I was going to say, us content creators, like, we're not all in a signal chat being like, okay, this is what we'll all say. Let's say it. At least if there is, I didn't get invited. I didn't get invited, but I don't think there is. I think, and again, I'm getting wooey here, but I believe it, that when you are being creative, you are tapping into something that is exterior. That's where ideas come from. It's something higher. And I don't think, I mean, sometimes artists copy each other, and I think that's kind of obvious when that happens. But I think when people collectively start coming to the same conclusions and drawing the same ideas, it's people kind of drawing from a source, an energy that you connect with through creativity. Again, I have no evidence for this. I'm saying what I think feels true, and that has served me well in the past, but you should not just believe me on face value. Okay, Anna Paulina Luna.
And, you know, so you're saying that the Air Force has covered up UAP sightings. So, you know, if there is potentially, is it because it's technology that we have that they don't want anyone to know that we have militarily? Or is it that it's a foreign actor who has some abilities in technology and things that spin in ways that we can't understand?
Based on our interviews that we've conducted, not just in person, but also to given some of the testimony that we've received, we do have reason to believe that this tech is not created by mankind. However, it is also possible that there are certain advanced weapons that the U.S. government may have that they're denying us access to. But here's the problem. When you have unelected bureaucrats denying access to members of government that are supposed to oversee and write the checks for that federal spending, and then we're also getting reports that there are people being threatened, whether it be physically, whether there have been, you know, interesting deaths associated with people that have been coming forward as whistleblowers, which has been brought up in some of the testimony that we've received, not just myself, but you saw recently there was a movie that came out, The Age of Disclosure, where this is also referenced now by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
I think that right there is just pure acknowledgement that The Age of Disclosure was the little warm-up, the little dose in entertainment, what all the good Goyim are used to, just sort of drop it in the entertainment so it's not too in your face just yet. Just letting you all know there are real people here talking about this kind of stuff. Get used to it. Get a little bit warm, because next month you're going to find out that they're here and they're eating you.
This is one of the most bipartisan and bicameral things in Washington, D.C. And so we definitely are looking forward to sharing this and exploring this further with the American people.
So there you go. I think based on that as well, it kind of sounds like, you know, when this happens, there's still going to be military technology that is not going to be released. There's still going to be secret black programs where they're doing all this kind of stuff, but it does feel like we are going to get some kind of disclosure around interaction with a non-human intelligence. That's what I think this is going to be will be the focus. Someone made an interesting comment. When I said I was going woo before, someone said woo in ancient Chinese just means shaman. That's really interesting. Is that why we use the term woo? We obviously spell it W-O-O when we say it, but that would make sense that that's where it comes from. Interesting. You learn something every day. Thank you. And when I was saying that, Tendril said, I wholeheartedly disagree. And I love that. I love that, because if we all just agreed with everything that I said, we would be accused of being a cult. And we're not a cult. We are just a post-apocalyptic survival group that resides at the Polarity compound, where we farm and live off the earth, and we sell our excess seeds to people outside the compound for 10x the price. Okay, and that is how we will start the new empire. All right, let's keep going. We've got a few more to get through. So Anna Paulina Luna posted, again, you know, she posted the picture of Marco Rubio in the UFO, and now she's posting pictures of wormholes with no context. This is what I mean. It's like, dude, you're you're playing games with us. You know what I mean? And anyway, Ashton Forbes goes, my social media content is basically what Congress gets told in a skiff. And, you know, I kind of believe that. I do kind of believe that. We saw that earlier. We'll leave that one. How long have we been going? We've been going a while. Yeah, we'll leave that one. These pictures, again, Brian Bledsoe. I've shown you guys these. Well, I've never shown you the second one, but we've looked at this one so many times on the channel, right? Again, is this something that people a long time ago knew about, they were familiar with, and is this some kind of prophecy unfolding? These paintings are very interesting. We've done a deep dive into a lot of them. I've not this one though. This one I've never even seen before, but again, super interesting. An old painting, looks like an angel in the cloud, beaming something down to a person, and that they both have these like sun. These like what I think is depicted as like the sun behind their head. Are these like sons of God? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not well versed in like religion enough to really give you guys a good interpretation. But you've got this guy here who's then like reading a Bible, I would assume. It looks like a book. And he's not looking at this person. So I don't know. It's like, is this, okay, my ignorant interpretation, is this his knowledge coming from angels? Because it does almost kind of look like a bit of a seraphim with the way that these clouds are depicted. This is knowledge being given from a higher entity, like an angel, down to man, someone who is potentially like a prophet, chosen, son of God, whatever you want to call it. And the fact that this guy isn't looking at this happening makes me think that he is reading about the knowledge that is being given to this person, that this knowledge was put into this book and he's reading about it. I don't know. That's my interpretation. Interesting though. That's Jesus. Well, I mean, I did kind of think that, but like he looks bald. Jesus wasn't bald. Jesus wasn't bald. He died at 33 and he had a lot of hair, from my understanding. What did Ryan say? She and the Vatican investigated and he's talking about Diana Pasolka. She and the Vatican investigated and studied us because of our experiences. This particular clip is very important to understand the truth of what is happening. UFOs and angels are not separate. They are one. That makes sense to me. I do think they're one too. We've all just confused ourselves with different labels. Let's watch this clip.
So she was studying the ecstasies of the saints, meaning the times in which they became enraptured by some sighting or observation that they had, where they would be literally in almost like a trance. And she had access to the Vatican Library, which not many people get access to, go down into the catacombs of the library. Cool. And she said one of the things that really interested me was that the showings of the angels or the showings of God always showed up as orbs of light or things like that. And she began to realize, well, today we see this as, we call them UFOs. So she was.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Good clip. I think most of us sort of know that by now, that like, yeah, the people have always seen orbs of light. And yeah, I guess that's Diana Pasolka's whole thing, right? That's how she went down her road, by being a religious scholar and then being like, wait a second, these sound like the things people talk about with UFOs. Okay, Lou Elizondo. Let's see what Lou said. Like I said, you know, I'm interested in Lou. If I was a betting man, I would put just a little bit of money. Okay, because the odds would be high right now. The odds would be paying extremely well. But if I was a betting man, I would throw a tenner on Lou Elizondo having some kind of vindication or redemption arc. Just a tenner. I'm not all in. The odds are high. But if, you know, as a smart gambling move, I'd throw a tenner on potentially a Lou Elizondo redemption arc. That's all I'm saying. This is what he says. Thank you, President Trump, and to those in your administration, as well as those in past administrations who fought for the same goal. Thank you to Congress, to the media, to the whistleblowers, and to the American people whose faith and persistence made this moment possible. This is the culmination of many years of effort, years in which families, careers, and personal safety were often placed at risk simply to have this conversation. I am deeply grateful to witness this day and to honor those who helped begin this journey in 2007, most notably Senator Harry Reid, Senator Daniel Inouye, and Senator Ted Stevens. As we move forward together, greater disclosure and transparency, my hope is that this moment brings people together. I have always believed that America is strong enough to face the truth and that the American people deserve nothing less. I am proud to have been a part of this effort. There you go. I mean, whatever you think of him, for this message alone, can't knock it. Can't knock it. Another interesting image. So this is from that same guy, Operation Heal America. Same person. Do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Interesting. Obviously, that's from the Bible. And he put this picture in it. So you see what I'm saying, guys? And again, this is obviously someone, he's got a golden tick. I don't know who this person is, but he's obviously in an official capacity. It says retired USNA grad, retired Navy pilot, retired FBI agent, now God special agent. I mean, God, okay. What are you, from the Adjustment Bureau? What are you, Tim Taylor? I don't know what that means, but he's obviously someone significant is my point. And again, there is this depiction of angels intervening in earth. We are learning about evil, Moloch, Baal worship, the darkness that has corrupted society, and all of this messaging is about angels and religion. I think that is what Disclosure is going to be about. And obviously the whole Bledsoe thing is there as well. You know, I do think it's a time to be positive. We should be positive. We should be hopeful. But also, like, use discernment, be aware. Let's, like, don't just swallow everything that gets put in front of us straight away. Let's come to places like this, digest it, talk about it. And I think, I mean, ultimately, I think we're all going to be okay. I think we're all going to be okay. As long as you help that lady up off the floor, as long as you're a good person, morally, your beliefs don't matter. How good is that? Your beliefs don't matter. You could be a left-wing extremist. You could be a right-wing extremist. Doesn't matter. Are you a good person? Do you love thy neighbor? Do you steal from people? Do you look after your own? Do you care for the land? That's what actually matters. So all that other bullshit is just bullshit. I think that's amazing. The lineup just came out for Contact in the Desert. I'm not on it, which is obvious. I was never going to be, but I'm going. And that's why I'm showing you this. So some amazing, cool speakers are going to be there. I can actually zoom in on this for you guys a little bit. So in case you haven't seen this, I'm going to be there. I'm very excited to meet some of you guys. And all of these cool people. So these are the people that are going to be there who are like part of the event. So these people are either going to be doing workshops, speeches, lectures, maybe live podcasts, all this kind of stuff. And there's just so many cool people here that there's really just too many to name. But, you know, this is in end of May, start of June. You know, with where we are now and the trajectory that we are on and what we are going to learn between now and then, could be a very interesting Contact in the Desert. And it is called Infinite Realms. Very, very interesting. Look, there are a few more things here, but I think we'll save that for the next show. We'll be live again tomorrow at 11 a.m., which was an hour later than when this show started. But, oh, not again.
Everyone, what's
It is happening. It is happening. Sorry, I didn't mean to play that again. But yes, I'll be live again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be more of a, you know, normal show. I've got a whole bunch of things that have been going on kind of outside of Epstein, outside of the Trump announcement that I think will be fun to talk about. So church will be in session on Sunday tomorrow. Yes, the Dow is up. So really we can just forget about all of it and just be happy that our Babylonian money magic is in the green. Fantastic. Guys, thank you for hanging out today. It's been a long stream. We do like to do the longer ones before we... Oh, shit. Sorry. I can't leave yet. We've got a lot of super chats to catch up on. I do apologize. Sir Danky says, your platform has been really awesome for my spirit. Thank you. That means a lot, bro. And thank you for the support. Adam Dev Media says, I just vibe coded a satirical LLM called Chad GHP. I love it. Joshua Bartlett says, put Bugonia on movie night list. I think the next movie night we are going to watch is The Island, because it's all about an island where they clone people and they use their organs and body parts and stuff like that. Not the most lightest viewing, but, you know, probably another documentary. Made by Michael Bay as well, who Juliette Bryant claims she saw on Epstein Island. There you go. Mel and Ye need more apologies. Agreed. That's from SS Tone. Jcom says, if you don't own gold and silver, you are distracted. Thank you very much, bro. Dusty G with a 50. Thank you very much, Dusty. He says, you're awake and up, free from Rome and can travel about. Order room service. I will be, bro, my crutch is down here on the floor. I will not be going anywhere. I will be getting room service and probably playing some World of Warcraft after this stream. Can't wait. Thank you very much, Dusty. And Sammy Wright, celebrating 6 months and a beautiful golden trim, says it's getting weirder and weirder, boss. Fingers crossed for some sort of disclosure. Stay safe. Stay plugged. I love this cult. Thank you very much, Sammy. And disclaimer, we are not a cult. We are not a cult. We are just a group of positive, beautiful, awakened beings. And I love it. I love it. I love that we have a good little tribe here of amazing people. So, guys, thank you for hanging out today. The link for Discord is below if you do want to come out and join the tribe, initiate yourself into the non-cult of Polarity. It's a good time. Sometimes I literally just stream World of Warcraft in there and I'm in voice chat and we just hang out. That's usually in the members section, but you know, we just hang out there. It's good fun. So have a good day wherever you are. Have a good night. Be good, be kind. Remember, it's your morals that matter. So just be a good person and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.